Go ahead and start this joint meeting August 6, 2014. City of Oceanside, Harbor District, CDC. Roll call, please, Holly.
Mayor Wood?
Here.
Councilmember Kern?
Here.
Councilmember Feline?
Here.
Councilmember Feller?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sanchez is absent.
Thank you very much. With that, Mr. City Attorney, please.
Thank you. The council meet in closed session to discuss item 1, conference with labor negotiator on the status of negotiations involving the Oceanside Firefighters Association, the Oceanside Police Officers Association non-sworn, unrepresented employees, including executive management. Did I miss anyone, Ms. Nunez? No, okay. Item 2, conference with real estate negotiator involving the Oceanside Beach Resort property, negotiating parties SD Malkin Properties and the city and successor agency. Under negotiations are terms for the disposition agreement. Item 3, conference with legal counsel on existing litigation involving Dunnex, Cavalier Mobile Estates versus the city, and Miller versus City of Oceanside.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this council meeting. Go with the first action. First off, roll call, please.
Mayor Wood?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sanchez?
Here.
Councilmember Kern?
Here.
Councilmember Feline? Here. Councilmember Feller?
Here.
Thank you. With that, we'll go with the consent calendar, please.
Yes, consent calendar items 4 through 8. Item number 9 has been pulled from the agenda, and then item number 10.
Thank you very much. And with that,
Move to pull item number 8. Did you say 8?
did you say pull 8?
You can pull number 8, yes. And item number 9 has been moved from the agenda.
Move the balance.
I'll second. So you pulled 8,
Yeah.
you said?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please vote on the remainder.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. With that, item 8, please, for Councilmember, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, item number 8 is approval of a change order in the amount of $286,291 to the contract with Bonzel Petroleum Construction Incorporated for additional earthwork and stormwater quality improvements at El Corazon. Approval of Amendment 1 in the amount of $31,300 to the professional services agreement with Sowards and Brown Engineering for additional engineering and surveying services at El Corazon. Approval of Amendment 1 in the amount of $16,600 to the professional services agreement with Geo-Pacifica Incorporated for additional geotechnical inspection services at El Corazon. Approval of a budget appropriation in the amount of $334,192 from the real property revenue account to the Silica Reclamation business account, authorization for the city engineer to execute the change order, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendments.
Thank you. With that, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had some questions from some constituents, and I wanted to go ahead and ask those on the record. So staff, please come forward. Thank you. The first question was, how much of this is for work that is already completed, and are we assured that these are the final costs from grading for the soccer fields?
Honorable Mayor, council members, the last part of the grading project is being completed now. It's the parking lot, and there is no more construction changes that have been identified and
Anticipated.
Anticipated.
Okay. Please explain why the increase for stormwater compliance. There are no new regulations in the last few months, so shouldn't this have been correctly designed and costed out as part of the original budget?
There was a modification to the stormwater system. There's different ways that it can be handled, and as a result of that modification, there was a price increase. So there wasn't a change in regulations, but there was a nuance that needed to be addressed, and so that's how it was handled.
Okay, so what was that modification?
Without getting into too much technicality, the stormwater that comes off the site could go into one basin and be blended. If so, then all the water has to be held in that one site, which would have made an extra large basin. Instead, it's going to be bypassed, therefore meeting the current requirements because the basin wasn't large enough to handle all of that if it's blended. So it's just being bypassed rather than mixed. And it has to do with when it discharges off the site. It's a nuance to the regulations, but the basin would have had to be a lot larger, so they changed the piping so it went and bypassed the site.
Okay, so the question is, why wasn't this designed and costed out correctly at the beginning? It sounds like this is something that you changed on your own after it was designed. There were no new regulations. Something happened to make you want to change this.
At the time they did the conceptual design, they had not worked out the final volume to put it into the one basin. So they had, but they anticipated that basin was going to be large enough, and it wasn't. And so they decided that they needed to bypass. They could have gone through different iterations, but this was the most economical way of addressing that. When
you say they, you're talking about the contractor or what?
The design engineer, Sowers and Brown.
The design engineers what?
Sowers and Brown was the
I
design.
can't hear you. Can you please speak in the mic?
I'm sorry. Sowers and Brown is the name of the design engineer firm.
All right. Don't we usually include contingency costs in a project like this, which would have addressed final cost adjustments?
As identified in the staff report, we have some contingency, but the thing is when it comes to grading activities, you can't put in an exact contingency. Until you open up the ground, you really don't know what you're going to see. So we have contingencies, but in this case, the contingency wasn't enough, and we couldn't have anticipated until we really open up the site to know what the extent of those additional grading activities are going to be. So was there contingencies? Yes, we thought that as adequately addressed, but with grading, it's, as I explained in the staff report, it's difficult to really nail that down.
How much were the contingency?
At the time, it was less than 10% because we had a limited budget, so that kind of capped. We had some room for contingency, but it was less than 10% at that time.
Okay. Last question. Please clarify the funding source. Staff report says, quote, sale proceeds from real property revenue account, end quote. And then it says there's a balance in the general fund. I thought this was being paid for with the revenue we have accumulated from Moody's. This sounds like it's from general funds. So the
Honorable
original
Mayor,
question is, please clarify the funding source.
Honorable Mayor, Deputy
Mayor Sanchez, Doug Edow, Real Estate Manager, City of Oceanside. I can answer that question. It's basically a cash flow problem with the revenue that's generated out at the Moody's operation and Aqua Service. Because of the additional cost of this grading was anticipated until later to get funding from those sources. So it is from the general fund, but it's kind of a borrowing, and that it will get repaid
It'll be repaid
from the Silica Fund.
Okay,
Correct.
all right. Well, thank you very much. Move approval.
Second.
Hey, a quick question since we're in the area. I know that Sterling did a geo out there for the property. Does that cover a particular area or just a small for his site? I know there's some geo issues. I don't know.
Honorable Mayor, Sterling conducted an additional geotechnical study on the portion of El Corazon that is immediately adjacent to their property, looking to see what can be done on that property.
Thank you. The reason I was asking about, we have a workshop on the August 13th on El Corazon. Some of these issues and questions, I'd appreciate if you bring those to that workshop. I thank you for that. I see no other questions. Please go ahead and please vote.
Motion approved 5-0.
Mr. Clerk, if you have the time at your convenience, number 11, please.
Yes, item number 11 is adoption of a resolution approving the acquisition of real property in the 300 block of Cleveland Street from the successor agency to the former Oceanside Redevelopment Agency in the amount of $800,000, together with associated closing costs estimated at $15,000, authorization for the mayor to execute the real property disposition and acquisition agreement, and grantee conveying the property, and authorization for staff to open escrow and consummate the transaction.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. With that, Doug, please.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Doug Edow, Real Estate Manager, City of Oceanside. Staff is requesting approval of this item so that the city could be in a position to further develop Lot 23 with a parking structure and a mixed-use residential project. By acquiring the property from the successor agency, the city will no longer need to deal with the Department of Finance when they develop and construct this project in the future. Based on the city's direction in the past to increase parking in the downtown area, staff issued an RFP for the development of Lot 23 to include a parking structure. Based on the participants, staff selected Pelican Properties, whose proposal included a parking structure of 405 spaces, of which 325 will be open to the public or available to the public. There are currently 181 surface parking spaces on that site. In addition, Pelican is proposing 38 residential units and about 10,000 square feet of visitor-serving commercial retail, which is mandated by, I believe, the 9-block master plan and the local coastal plan. This item before you is approval of the acquisition from the successor agency of Lot 23 and some ancillary approvals associated therewith. But I also would like to take the opportunity to present Pelican Properties, who will present their proposal for Lot 23. This is information only. Again, the item before you is just the approval of the acquisition from the successor agency, but I would like Pelican to show the council what they are planning to put there, as they have already met with a number of the stakeholders for the area, OCNA, Main Street, as well as the Economic Development Commission. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Dick Ham of Pelican Properties.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm Dick Ham with Pelican Properties, and we started working with the city on this RFP approximately a year ago. And we happened to be around also in 2005 when Kathy Baker was with the city and the original RFP went out, and then the project got put on hold because of the complications associated with the hotel further to the beach. So we're a mixed-use infill builder. We do little boutique projects and
from Orange County and North San Diego County. We have a partner, Brook Street, that's on this project with us, and they're a full-service real estate development company. They also do mixed-use projects, infill, adaptive reuse, and brownfield development. Neil Brandon, a principal from Brook Street, is here today. If you'd like to meet him, I'll be happy to introduce him as well. We're very market-driven. We believe in place-making, connectivity, functionality. We like to build projects that have lasting value. That's very important to us. We believe that the true success of a project is the character that it has when it's completed and how people use the space. And so these are some photos that we use as inspiration when we're designing projects. And you can tell it's all about the people and the activity that happens around the buildings. It's not about the buildings. This is a project we did in downtown Huntington Beach, very similar to this. It's 3 blocks from the pier on Main Street, mixed use, 42 residential units plus 36,000 feet of retail office plus 300 public parking spaces. So we've been here before. We're very proud of this project. The residential units for this project were put on top of the podium, and we created a little village up there, and these are some of the scenes of the walkways and open spaces within the residential area upstairs. Brook Street did a project in San Jose called Plant 51. It was the adaptive reuse of an old fruit sorting and distribution building that took about 5 years to complete and ended up being a very, very nice project. You can see here the old steel and brick from the original warehouse, and then the rest of the project was built around that. This is an exterior view of that building. The walls on the outside, those brick walls on the outside, actually are non-structural. They had to build inside of those walls in order to make the project go, but the character of the project was still there, and it's a very nice project. So in regards to the parking structure on Lot 23, when we were looking at it, these were some of our goals that we had. We wanted to get over 400 parking spaces in there, plus we wanted to have a mixed-use project. We wanted it to have substantial open space. We wanted to create a great pedestrian way, a great courtyard space that connected to the other areas of Pierview Way and also downtown and the transit center, et cetera. We wanted it to be a transitional space in regards to scale from Block 18 and Block 19 and 21 to the neighborhood to the north. And then we're really concerned about how it looks. We really want to make sure that we design something that's good and has lasting value that people are proud of. So you're very well aware of this area. I don't have to describe it to you, but Lot 23 is in the 9-block area. And the most visible thing is from an aerial view today that you can see is that there's a lot of these open lots, and the lots are going away. The hotel looks like it's going to go forward, which is fantastic. It'll be a great addition to downtown. And then there's 4 other lots that are owned by the Ute tribe that are in the process of being developed, most notably Lot 18 and 19, which are immediately to the south of Lot 23. And that parking will go away, and that's one of the main reasons that the city was going after trying to create additional parking for the downtown. Here's Lot 23. For us, what was really important to recognize was its relationship to Pierview Way and the pier, its relationship to the transit center, to the movie theaters, to downtown, to the civic center, and its relationship to what we call North Beach community. I don't know if that's appropriate or not. The railroad tracks are obviously the most dominant amenity that's around there, and we're trying to mitigate the railroad tracks as much as possible through our design. This is a preliminary design concept that we came up with. The big square in the center of the tan, which looks like separate buildings, is actually one large building that's wrapped around the parking structure. The parking structure is 1 level down and 5 levels up. It has a total of 405 parking spaces in it. The 1 level down is private use for the residents, the 38 residents, and then the rest of the structure is for the public. The entrance for the public is more to the middle of Cleveland, right between Pierview and Civic Center. The private entrance, which is closest to the neighborhood on the north, is only for the residences. There's only 38 of those, so the amount of traffic going in and out there will be small. We have a retail space and a restaurant that's focused around a courtyard. That courtyard is the location of the main entrance and exit for pedestrians using the parking structure. So when you use the parking structure and park your car, you'll go down to that corner, and from that corner drop down into the courtyard, and from there you're right at the corner of Pureview Way in Cleveland, which means from there you can go to the beach, you can go to the transit center, you can go to the movie theater, you can go to downtown. We've got a nice buffer between the neighborhood to the north, about 50 feet, and that was done consciously to create some space there from that building to those uses. This is pretty boring, but this is the actual preliminary drawings of the parking structure itself. And then the building wraps on three sides of it. The railroad tracks would be to the upper part of the plan, and the building would be wrapped around the three other sides. What you're looking at there is the ground floor of the parking structure, and you can see the entrance in the center. And then it's a spiral parking structure, so it just starts at the bottom and it just rolls on up all the way to the top. This is a quick section of it, kind of give you an idea of how the building wraps around the parking structure. On the left side of the image would be Cleveland. We have a nice setback from Cleveland from the curb to the building is 15 feet, where we're going to create a nice promenade with hardscape, landscape, street furniture, etc. We have a nice commercial. That commercial could be either the office, the retail, or the restaurant. Above that, there's 3 floors of residential, and on the 3rd floor, there's a little mezzanine level, like a little loft in that unit. Behind that, you can see the 1 level down, which would be the residence parking, and then the 5 levels up of public parking. Here's kind of some stats on it as we stand right now, and please remember, everything's very preliminary at this point in time, so these numbers will evolve, although we think we've got pretty good confidence here. Total of 405 parking spaces, 325 which are public, 80 which are private residence, about 7,000 feet of retail, of which 4,000 is restaurant, 3,000 is other, office of about 3,000 feet. We have 38 residents which are sitting in 48,000 square feet of space, and then the public plaza, which is over 4,000 square feet. This is a very preliminary elevation. We needed to come up with some look, and this is the first pass we've taken. We've got a long way to go to finalize the elevation and the colors, etc. But you can see that, we like a Moorish style, but there's a lot of other styles that will work. As the design gets further refined, it will lend itself to one kind of architectural style or another, and so this will change over time. We do have some vignettes that we use that help us try to visualize what we want to see ultimately when this thing gets built, and it's more the character here that I want you to focus on, not necessarily the specific architectural details, but the idea of this plaza that creates a great place for outdoor dining, for people to come and go, to meet other people before they head elsewhere in the city. And then here's a picture of the promenade, and it's wide enough that we can have some outdoor dining there, plus street furniture and some nice hardscape and landscape. And as you get further down and closer to the neighborhood of the north, we've got a little arcade that encroaches into that 15 feet, which kind of starts creating a change of use and a buffer as we transition over to that more residential side. So that's it. I'd be happy to expound or answer any questions. Just let you know that we're excited about this project, and it's been great working with staff. It's been a fun project so far. We look forward to it.
Deputy Mayor, did you have a question, or is that for later?
I do, if I can ask that.
Go ahead.
Yes.
You're on the line here.
Will you be having, including in the project, a structure for parking bicycles?
We do for the residences. I don't know if you can see it where it says bike kitchen on the upper.
I saw that.
Like that. So what we're trying to do there is think of our residents and how they will use this space. And we figure bikes around town is a big issue. and the other is surf stuff. So whether it's surfboards or boogie boards or maybe there are chairs and stuff. So that space, which we've got somewhere between 12 and 1,600 square feet that we can move that back and forth, we're going to amenitize that for our residences. At this point in time, we do not have a spot for public bikes, but that could easily be created and incorporated into the structure. We could just set aside an area that normally you would park, and then we could have bike racks and things like that in there. It really comes down to what the desires are by
Right.
council and staff.
Well, I think that would be a very critical piece to this if we're going to truly push. I love the pedestrian friendly. If we could also make it bicycle friendly, get people off their bikes to, go to the restaurant or whatever other retail
Yeah, love
you'll have on site
Love-
and nearby, because this is going to be a major parking structure for the city as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like your ideas. Another question I had was, what do you plan to do for outreach? Sounds like you have met with some groups. Are you having community meetings for the public at large? And how many do you plan on having and when?
Yeah, thank you.
Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor Sanchez, the Pelican Group has actually met already with a number of groups, Main Street Economic Development Commission and OCNA. They plan some more meetings, but what the city is planning to do is enter into a DDA with Pelican. That will still have to come before the council, so we'll
Right.
have more public outreach there as well. But then they'll go through a planning process and have additional public outreach.
So,
Just by way of our corporate philosophy, we believe projects get done better and are easier to get through the entitlement process.
you do the outreach at the
The
front.
more you outreach.
Yes.
Right? And so we figured.
I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, no, and so we've met some of the neighbors to the north, and they're going to try and get the neighbors together so we can sit down and have coffee and meet with them and talk about it. But we're definitely going to meet with whoever wants to meet with us whenever they want to meet in order to have those conversations.
Yeah, I would encourage, through the plan, I know you're going to have it coming before the planning commission, but perhaps a workshop just to, let other people look at it and
Yeah, absolutely.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move approval.
Thank you.
Well, second.
Thank you. Councilmember Feller, please. No? Okay. With that, please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, 13, please.
Yes, item number 13 is adoption of a resolution declaring a drought response level 2, drought alert condition as described in the Oceanside City Code, section 37.106. Conservation levels limiting lawn watering and landscape irrigation to no more than 10 minutes per water station per day, no more than 3 days per week, and ceasing operation of ornamental water fountains unless recycled water is used.
Ms. Dale, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The last time I was here speaking to you about drought was January of this year, and I talked to you about Governor Brown officially declaring a drought emergency for the state of California. When he did that, that initiated, among other things, a statewide awareness campaign as well as the voluntary conservation message from the governor. The drought declaration in January was primarily driven by persistent dry conditions throughout the southwest United States. And since that time, drought has intensified throughout the state, with 82% of the state in extreme or exceptional drought. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and as depicted on this map, above normal temperatures, which are shown in brown, are predicted for the west through October. In addition, NOAA predicts a 70% chance of El Nino in the summer and an 80% chance of El Nino in the fall and in the winter. As a result of these continuing dry conditions as well as low storage levels throughout the State Water Resources Control Board adopted an emergency regulation in late July, which was directed at reducing outdoor water use as well as promoting conservation. The regulation is an immediate action to increase conservation statewide to preserve the state's water supplies into 2015 and beyond. As depicted on the photos in the presentation, other communities in the state risk running out of drinking water, resulting in loss of jobs and more than 400,000 acres of farmland being fallowed. In response to the state's action, the Water Authority took board action in July to implement a Level 2 drought alert and comply with the state's emergency regulation. The water, waste, and emergency conservation measures contained within the Water Authority's Model Drought Ordinance complies with the intent of the state's regulation. When I spoke to you in January, we discussed that Oceanside's ordinance and drought plan has 4 different levels with more serious requirements that occur as you move up throughout the levels. In implementing this, the city follows the lead of the Water Authority in moving from one level to the other, and therefore in response to the Water Authority's action to move to a drought response level 2, staff is recommending that council also approve the request from staff to move to a drought response level 2. The following graphic depicted here details the specific actions contained in each level and is available on the city's website, and copies of these materials are also available at the back table this evening. The Level 2 actions include all those actions that are contained within Level 1, which include best management practices that we should be implementing every day in order to use water efficiently. These include sweeping down paved surfaces, not watering them down, adjusting sprinklers so that there is no overspray, watering in the late morning or early evening, serving and refilling water at restaurants only upon request, offering hotel guests the option of not laundering towels and linens daily, repairing all leaks within 5 days, as well as using a hose nozzle with a positive shutoff when washing cars. So the additional Level 2 actions include those that are shown here, which are watering only on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. This does not include agriculture or growers of plants for sale. Level 2 actions also include watering 10 minutes or less per station. This does not include those that have put in a efficient type of irrigation system, and I can explain that a little bit later. Repairing leaks within 72 hours, as well as operating ornamental fountains only with recycled water. The state's action requires that Oceanside set our drought levels at levels requiring conservation, or a Level 2 in our ordinance. It also requires that the Water Department report on its monthly water usage. And at this time, it does not require that we cut back by a percentage of water use, which is what happened the last time we were in a drought. We were asked to cut back, I think, 8%. Implementation of the restrictions will focus on awareness and education. Oceanside has the regulatory framework in place to cite and fine, if necessary, problem water users, and the department has been working closely with the Code Enforcement Division to develop a rollout strategy. Now, there are several impacts to businesses and to citizens. I just want to go through a few of them here. For most of the water users here, it's going to require some sort of change to the irrigation system, whether they have to do it manually or have somebody to program that. Businesses potentially have a cost for landscape staff to reprogram their irrigation timers, and there are many rebate programs available to help reduce water usage. I also have Teresa Gomez, our Senior Management Analyst, here to talk a little bit more about these if you have questions on impacts to these users. Staff has been very focused on developing outreach to roll out the messaging to the customers. Shown here are billing inserts that were produced in English and Spanish and are going out during the month of August. They also include messaging on envelopes. The one in the lower right says, "This is serious. Mandatory water use restrictions are in effect." And we are getting a lot of materials from the Water Authority as well as some state agencies that are developing materials we can use. We've also developed some pocket cards or materials that our field staff can provide to the public. We do get a lot of public that approach our field staff and ask them questions. So we've developed some materials that can provide some easy answers as well as some resources for them. And we've also developed some door hangers, just a very friendly, looks like you have a problem here and we'd like to see you correct it. We have been working with KOCT as well to put some public service announcements on. I believe they're airing this evening during some of the breaks. And this is in addition to a lot of the messaging that's done at the Water Authority. That you may have heard quite a few radio spots. There's been some advertisement done during the movie theaters, during the previews. There's been some messaging that's up in the San Diego airport. So people are getting hit from a lot of different directions. And this is just scratching the surface on the materials that we're developing right now. I wanted to just briefly talk about what Oceanside's doing to do our part from a very high level. The department's going to be initiating several projects where we will be removing grass, which is a very water-thirsty type of a plant, and replacing it with artificial turf or other drought-tolerant plantings at many of the city facilities, including the Civic Center here and at the Strand. In doing that, we're also going to be looking at buildings to replace fixtures such as the toilets or the faucets with low-flow fixtures. And we are working closely with Development Services to develop a solution to the 2 fountains that are here at the Civic Center. One of the biggest things that the city's been working on, when it does have a long lead time, is furthering the development of the local water supplies, including the Mission Basin Purification Facility, as well as recycle water. And Jason Dafford's going to be talking about recycle water after this item. We do want to let folks know that there are quite a few resources available. There's a few websites here that folks can refer to. There are, during this period of drought, there are many more programs that are being developed and a lot more money that's available for programs to help people implement ways in which they can reduce water. Some of these include rebates for clothes washers, irrigation controllers, nozzles, rain barrels, moisture sensors, toilets, as well as turf replacement. And I know that Council had authorized the PACE and the HERO programs, which we have talked about are to implement energy efficient projects at your home, and these types of water conservation projects also qualify for PACE funding. So this evening's recommendation is to declare a drought response level 2 drought alert condition. And with that, I will be at sidebar if you have any questions.
Thank you. Real quick before I pass it on the watering, you had it down as Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Is that required to have just those days or 3 days a week?
We determined that it needed to be set days of the week for a couple of reasons. Because it's easier to enforce and to see when somebody is watering on a day they shouldn't be. There was a lot of confusion when we had rolled this out last time, where we it was based on the number of your house and then on the days of the week. And so it's just for simplification as well as for, we worked with the operations staff to make sure that they could actually handle the water being used on those days. And so that's what we came up with.
The reason I ask, a lot of people in Oceanside have their lawn or their landscaping done by, let's say, gardeners or other officials. They set those particular sprinkling systems up for different days. Now they have to be readjusted to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I would hope that gets out to that community of the people that do all the landscaping work for the timing on that. I know that might be a different source than generally the public. That's all I had, and I'll pass this on for something else, though. You can just think about it, but
I know that this is Teresa Gomez. She's a senior management analyst in our department. She's met with the landscapers in the city, so we're doing a lot of very specialized meetings with different user groups just to get the messaging out and to answer questions that they might have.
thank you for coming up with that. I wasn't sure. Public on this?
Yes, Jimmy Knott can come forward at this time.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, and Vice Chairman of the Utilities Commission. As authorized by the Chairman of the Utilities Commission for the Commission, I can report to you that we on the Utilities Commission are monitoring the current drought situation and its effects on a daily basis. We have extensively discussed this proposed elevation of a citywide drought status from level 1 to level 2, and we are supportive of staff's proposed action. That without this action before you, the state's measures would be draconian and severely punitive. That the measures before you this evening, inclusive of public education, are reasonable and should be effective in the goals needed of necessary water use reduction, water conservation, and wise water usage. Therefore, the Utilities Commission recommends that you adopt these level 2 drought restrictions. Now, on a personal level, I have to inform you that those of us who live in multifamily communities, even though that our owners receive communications from the department, do not receive individually communications that have been shown to you this evening. Thank you.
No further public on this item.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We knew this was coming, we just didn't know when, and what we have to do is continue our efforts, perhaps move more aggressively towards the water recycling projects and ensuring that we're going to have as much independence as possible. So I'm going to move approval, move adoption of the resolution declaring drought response level 2, and encourage all our residents in Oceanside, please comply. And I know we do. We've got great residents here who are very concerned about the state and the condition of the drought. But we're luckier here than some other places. So, move approval. Thank you.
Is there a second? Thank you. Councilmember Feller, please.
Thank you. When you showed the outreach, did you say those are going to be in the bills, or is it a separate outreach?
Let me pull up that slide. 2 of the pieces that were shown there were in the bills, as well as some messaging on the outside of the envelopes.
So it's going to be on the outside of the utility bill, or the city sends out. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think that's important, because it'll look more important when it gets to the publics. One of the major concerns, and I know we're looking for it all the time, is the landscape districts and the overwatering, especially in the center dividers, where it just eats up our roads. But do they end up with the same rules, or I'm a little worried because some of them water every night.
They actually will be subject to the same rules. However, the days of the week that they'll be watering, if they're a public agency, will be slightly different. They will be watering on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that's to accommodate staffing so that they can be available if there are any leaks or any problems so that we can avoid runoff or any overwatering.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kern, please.
Thank you. We've been wrestling with this at the Water Authority for quite some time, and they really ramped up their public outreach. And actually, even though we are in conflict with Metropolitan Water District has stepped up their outreach. And if you listen to the radio, they are doing a tremendous job trying to get out there. There are some places in the Central Valley that get zero allocation this year. They're stumping their trees. The trees are dying. The other thing that I want to make clear is, and I've had a couple inquiries and I've passed them on to the Water Utilities Department, is that some homeowners association requires green grass, and they start finding internally if your grass is not watered. Well, with the governor's declaration, you don't have to abide by that. That you can actually let your front yard get brown or even die and not be subject to your homeowner association rules. So I just want to get that out to people because we're saying one thing here and their homeowners may be saying something else. So this is a serious situation. We do not want to get to level 3 because then all those things that Mr. Knott referred to will happen. So the idea that we need everybody to conserve. But I have to congratulate the people of Oceanside and actually people of the county. I mean, the last time around, we did the challenge. We dropped 20%. Our water usage from 2007 has dropped tremendously. Now, this last year, it hasn't dropped that much, but I think we have squeezed this turnip about as hard as we can squeeze it. I think people now are in a habit of conserving water, and I don't think they're going to be able to conserve the large percentages of water that we've conserved before. So I just want to make everybody mindful of that. So all those things that we talked about as far as showers and watering and things like that, to adhere to that, because we don't want to go down that next step. So thank you.
Councilmember Feline, please.
Thank you, Mayor. But just follow up on what Councilman Kern said, because that's something I certainly was not aware of, and I was wondering, are we planning as a city then to notify the homeowners associations in our city of that specific provision, that the green grass provision's not enforceable?
Yes, we are planning to do a mailing specific to the HOAs. I'm also speaking later in the month to an organization that is composed of HOA managers. So I'm going to make that point pretty clear to them so that they're understanding.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate what you've done in the past, everybody in the staff. This isn't new in Southern California. The things that frustrate me is, I remember the last drought thing, you and the staff asked people to conserve water. They did an outstanding job, and their thank you for that was a double-digit rate increase. So they did everything they had and still got stung. I didn't appreciate that from that. The other one I want to have you and or Mr. Kern answer. Not that long back, Mr. Kern indicated that things are really good in this area after the last drought in the area of San Diego Water Authority, that we had stored a lot and we were prepared for this. Is this something that the state has pushed down our throats even though we're a little higher up on water, or what's the status? How we got from things are great to how we have the state saying now it's a drought tolerance? Is there something you guys want to address? I mean,
well, we're in much better shape than we were the last time around because of the IID. Let me back up. The Imperial Irrigation District transfer and the QSA. We now receive about 45% of our water coming out of the Colorado. They are stressed, but they aren't as stressed as much as the state system. We are in much better shape this time around than we were last time around. We just completed the San Vicente Dam raise at the Water Authority, which helps, for storage. We are working on other projects, obviously the Sidon project in Carlsbad is going to come online next October, which will be 50 million gallons a day, which actually is enough water to supply Carlsbad and Oceanside. We are actually, and City of San Diego is working on a potable reuse project down in Point Loma, and so they're going to try to supply all their own water. So I think one of the things that crisis, it drives innovation, and I think we're doing that. We pull about 6 million gallons a day out of our aquifer here, and I know we are looking at some type of a potable reuse program coming with our aquifer too. So the idea that we are in much better shape, and the idea that I don't think we'll get to level 3, and a lot of this is state driven and people taking water off the state water projects. So
Thank you, and I appreciate that because you're our rep down there at the Water Authority, and I remember a while back, seemed like a few months, you said we're really in good shape. So in one breath you were in great shape, and the next the state's saying we're at a major drought issue. So again, is a state kind of because of statewide forcing it down our throats. And again, my earlier comment, when they force it down our throats and all of our citizens do the right things and conserve water, they were paid back with a double-digit rate increase. So that's frustrating to the council and also the public. So it was a little confusing at best that we're doing so well down here and all the other things that are coming online to be told that we're at drought levels and we're at 2. So just for information, it's a little bit confusing to the public, let alone us. Thank you very much. With that, thank you. Please vote on this.
Motion approved, 5-0.
And with that, could you go to number 14, please?
Yes, item number 14 is introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 37 of the Oceanside City Code by adding Article 12, recycled water, to Article 7, recycled water, to promote the conservation, establish regulations for the installation and connection of service cross-connection control program meters, mains, and main extensions for the recycled water system within the city.
Thank you very much. Carrie, welcome
Timely
back.
item.
Welcome
Timely
back.
item, development of local supplies. I'm going to introduce Jason Dafforn, who's our Water Utilities Division Manager. I'll be at sidebar. Jason will be at sidebar at the conclusion of the presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. We are requesting introduction of a recycled water ordinance. The city intends to provide recycled water wherever the city determines that it is economically and technically feasible, consistent with the city's recycled water master plan, which is being developed to meet projected economic, regulatory, and facility needs for the city's recycle program. The department will be investing over $30 million in the next 10 years in our recycled water program. This map here depicts some of our potential large recycled users, customers within the department that have existing irrigation specific meters that we would like to have converted over. This map is a draft. It is part of our current recycled water master plan update, and it is not yet finalized, but we are very close. The purpose of this ordinance is to promote conservation, diversification of water supplies, establish recycled water system regulations for the following: installation and connection of services, cross-connection control, meters, mains, and the extension of those mains. The ordinance will also promote maximum beneficial use of city's public recycled water system. It will enable proper installation of recycled water systems to ensure correct uses of recycled water within the city. It will also promote public health and safety, and it meets Council's goal of 50% local supply by 2030. The ordinance will provide requirements for developers to install recycled water within their developments. It provides meter and cross-connection control. It provides conversion requirements of existing facilities, which are the existing irrigation meters. It formalizes the waiver of fees for recycled water through the San Diego County Water Authority capacity and treatment charges. It also provides for meter exchange and buy-in waivers, and it provides customers with the ability to appeal the requirements of the use of recycled water if the department determines that it is beneficially usable on their site. I'd like to make a note that recycled water is a drought-tolerant water supply that is imperative to the sustainability of Southern California's water needs. This concludes my presentation. I will be at sidebar to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Public.
Yes, Jimmy Knott may come forward at this time.
Again, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, and Vice Chairman of the Utilities Commission. And again, as authorized by the Chairman of the Utilities Commission for the Commission. I can report to you that we on the Utilities Commission have extensively discussed this recycled water ordinance, provided numerous suggested changes to staff that would better preserve private property rights, provide clearer due process rights, while helping the city towards its goal of water conservation and better water usage. Therefore, the Utilities Commission recommend that the City Council accept and adopt this recycled water ordinance this evening. Now, on a personal level, as a citizen, I do have an environmental justice issue or concern about low-income or fixed-income property owners and how best to make sure that they are not forced into economic poverty by any mandate. If you could consider that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
No more public on this item.
Thank you very much. Back to staff, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could you move that, go back to that diagram for the conceptual, like where the major users are located within the city? Potential major users. Forgot my glasses at home. Do you include here Goat Hill?
Yes, it is included.
Okay. Okay, there it is. Thank you. No, this is absolutely timely, and I'm very excited that we're moving in this direction. And I know we've been talking about it, and we're all very, very excited. So I am going to move introduction of the ordinance and hope that we can, together as a community, of course, we need to make sure that our residents understand what we're doing, but move forward in a very positive, in a very, like, I don't want to say quick, because we have to, we have to cross all our T's and dot all our I's, but as soon as we can. Thank you.
Councilmember Kern, please.
Thank you. I just have a couple questions. We talk about the requirement of the purple piping into new areas. The idea, will those ever be used if we go through a recycled water master plan where we do indirect or direct potable reuse, and we actually take all our recycled water and re-inject it into the aquifer and pull it out and treat it and becomes potable water, so we don't have to build a whole new purple piping infrastructure throughout the city? That's something I'm concerned with. And then when is the recycled water master plan going to be presented to us?
I'll take the first of those two questions. I think we are taking the stance, and I think many water agencies in California are taking the stance that there's no one silver bullet when it comes to water supplies, and that a mixture of recycled water, potable water, indirect potable reuse projects are things that make systems robust. As well as it's kind of like your financial portfolio. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, and we believe that a combination of all those water supplies is a good fit for Oceanside. So when we have development come in and they are in an area where we believe we will have recycled water as identified in this master plan, we would require them to put in the purple pipe. It's those areas where there's less likelihood of purple pipe going in where we would make the consideration that perhaps they don't have to install it.
Is there a unit threshold as far as units that,
It's 4 units,
or 4 or more?
4 more.
Okay. All right. And then the recycled water master plan is coming momentarily?
We are very close to having it done. We're going to bring forward the evaluation of La Salina treatment facility, and that is an integral part of the recycled water master plan, and the decision that comes out from council on that facility will impact the final recommendations and the final capital improvements within the recycled master plan. So I need to have that first in order to finalize some of the details on the recycle master plan.
So when you say soon, does that mean by the end of the year?
Well, in terms of timing and coming in and talking back to this body, we were scheduling that for November, and there tentatively is a workshop scheduled to talk to you about that issue. So after we have discussion with council, we're hoping to come back and make those changes and very quickly get a final product out near the end of the year or the beginning of the year.
Okay. Did you make a motion? Okay, I'll second the motion.
Councilmember Feline, please.
Thank you, Mayor. If all these uses are able to move over to recycling, what percentage of our water usage does that represent? We're in rough numbers.
I don't have that off the top of my head right now. I know that it's less than 1% as it currently exists today.
No.
The department's targeting with all local water sources to be at that 50% supply mix by 2030. Now, you may decide that it's working so well that you want to go beyond that, and we may be there, but we'll have those discussions with you as we move projects forward that put local supplies online.
Well, I mean, this looks great, and obviously it's direction we all want to move in, but I was hoping for a bigger number, but thank you.
I know the state is reviewing the conditions upon which to expand the uses for recycled water. Where are we there? Are we monitoring that? Are we, is staff also providing its opinion about what would be in the best in the interest of the city, including the public safety? Like for ag, and right now you can't, right? So like for ag, where are we on that? I'm not aware of any regulations that are coming out specific to that. The regulations, though, that are being developed and the research that's occurring right now is regarding the indirect potable reuse and the direct potable reuse, where you're either treating the recycled water, putting it into the ground or into a reservoir, and then treating it again before it's put into the water supply, or you're taking it directly from the back end of the wastewater treatment plant, treating it to a very high degree, and then putting it right into the drinking water distribution system. Those regulations are a few years away. We're actively engaged with a study right now that would develop water supplies in the Mission Basin. And we actually have a tour set up with our commissioners to go look at the demonstration project that San Diego has going on right now. That's later this month. So if anybody's interested in touring that facility, please let me know, and I'll try to get you there as well. And it is important to refurbish the water that we're pumping out of the basin. Yeah, otherwise we'll be sinking just like the Delta.
Just to answer your question about the changes, a lot of this is being driven by the city of Fresno, where they take their wastewater and they put it on alfalfa fields, but they can't use it for direct human consumption.
Right.
So the idea that you can use it for ornamentals, you can use it for feed crops, but you can't use it for crops that are directly consumed by, and they're trying to figure out what what's a safe level of actually using it on row crops.
Right, and that was pretty much what I was wondering, where we were at that. Okay, thank you.
Can cows drink it? I said, can cows drink the water?
Yeah, the cows can drink the water, just people can't. And cows can eat the alfalfa, but people can't eat the alfalfa.
I have a question, if I may, and it's more the cost concern. I look at this map up here with all the dots. These are the heavy users, and those people, when the pipes and et cetera are put in for use, or used water, reclaimed water, they will receive a great benefit from it. Are they going to be charged more for getting the system put in, all the pipes, et cetera? They'll reap the benefits more than the average citizens because of the piping system going to them or whatever. I hope that's considered down the road, that they're going to be the massive users. There in turn, they should pay for most of this infrastructure, piping, et cetera. I think down the road we do see that this reclaimed water is going to be more and more valuable and more used throughout the world. Toilet to tap is very popular and saves a ton of money, but I'm sure in the United States it's not easy to sell that when toilet to
We do not use that term anymore.
I know that we don't, but it is actually what it is. But with that, I see that the state of California, Southern California water, this is our most important and most valuable commodity we have. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of intelligent people looking at all these. I just want to make sure that people that reap big benefits from reclaimed water are also helping pay for it all in the future. I know you know that, so thank you. That's all I have. With that, please.
This is introduction of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending Chapter 37 of the Oceanside City Code by deleting subsection 37.102D and adding Article 8, recycled water.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take about a 10-minute break and get ready for the second half of the council meeting. If you haven't been here before, out the doors, up the stairs, water, restrooms. Thank you. members, but I'll get them going. There's 3 of us.
Has to go get her glasses.
What? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second half of the council meeting. We'll start in a few minutes with the invocation and pledge of allegiance and proclamations, and we'll get back to the regular business of the city. But a couple of things, housekeeping, besides welcome, is that if you have a phone or pager, put it on silent or vibrate. We'd appreciate that. We do have a large group of dignitaries in the audience, so VIPs get treated differently. We want to make sure we put them at the end. Not really. And we have the Bean Society here too, which is always fun. But with that, we'll get started here in a second. And Deb, could you go ahead and give the rundown on the invocation and pledge, please?
Please stand for the invocation and the pledge. Tonight's invocation will be delivered by City Clerk Zach Beck, who is also the youth pastor for Gateway Community Church.
Let's bow our heads. Father, we just come to you today just to say thank you. Thank you for the privilege, the blessing, the honor it is to live in this wonderful city. We come here today as people with different backgrounds, different beliefs, different presents, and different futures, yet one common goal, and that is the betterment of this community. At this point in time, we just lift up our council members, Councilmember Feller, Councilmember Feline, Councilmember Kern, Councilmember Sanchez, and Mayor Wood. We lift them up for clarity, for vision, for focus, and we pray for their families as well. And right now we take time to pray for our military personnel who reside here within Southern California and who are out throughout the world protecting our freedom. We ask for your hedge protection over them as well as over our police and over our fire. And ultimately we just come here to seek your guidance, your wisdom, and your discernment in order to find the best way forward for this city. We praise you in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Nicholas Amaranto from King Middle School and Alyssa Amaranto, his sister, from Nichols Elementary School.
Come on down. And who gets the mic?
Everyone put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stay there.
Got it. Victor, you want to do it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We can get a photograph of these young lads that were here to do this. Thank you. Now remember, Dad, that's on KOCT, so you can get the video too later on, so thank you very much.
Would Elke Willis from the San Diego Humane Society please come forward for the Pet of the Month presentation?
Thank you very much. Hi, thank you all very much. I am happy to be here, and so is Jax. He is about a 2.5-month-old kitten. Very social, very playful, loves other kittens. He has the best buddy in his kennel right now that he would love to go home with. But he is here to let everybody know that we have got a campaign starting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, $9 Ninja Panthers. He's our little Ninja Panther, and all black cats and kittens are just $9 adoption fee. So we invite you to come check out all the great cats that we have, and the bunnies and the dogs, but the cats and the bunnies and the guinea pigs and rats are located right off of Airport Road, and our adoption hours are from 11 to 7 during the week and then 11 to 6 on the weekends. So we're very excited about our cat promotion. It was a busy time of year. Little Jax here came into our kitten nursery and grew up there until he was able able to be adopted out, which is about 8 weeks of age. And so at 2.5 months, he's ready to go, but he had a big family around him today, and the children didn't seem to concern him at all. So I think he'd be great in any household. And we also want to let everybody know, we have our licensing and vaccination clinics the first Sunday of the month at our Airport Road location. The time has changed, so we now do those from 9 to 11. Still at Airport Road, it's just the vaccination and licensing clinic, and then the food bank is still 1 to 3, which just was getting very busy and congested, so we decided to separate the two since they're two different guests that come into the Humane Society. So we welcome you to come get your animals vaccinated, licensed, that day. It is a busy day, so bring your patients, but all the information is on our website.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stop by probably at least once a month to go through the bunnies and kittens and walk through and see what I love and like. Then over at the regular Humane Society for the dogs, they have a 2.5 acre off-the-leash dog park split up for small and large dogs. It's a really social gathering. I think it's fantastic. I go there a lot. It's wonderful. Also, little kittens like that, they really make a great mascot for like people from the school district or something. Anyhow, keep that in mind. But usually they're sold or on the way out the door, so keep that in mind. And thank you for coming all the time. We appreciate it.
I do want to say something about the dog park real quick. I'm not sure, I believe it starts September 1st, but we're going to be closing one of the parks. This is all new to me, but while I'm here, just for 2 hours once a week, and the signs will go up, and we'll get that on our website. So just if you do visit and you're used to one area or the other, and it's going to allow us to let the shelter dogs run and play, which they've never been able to do before. So we're going to have play groups, so it gives them an opportunity to stretch their legs and play with each other. So just kind of keep that in mind, and don't be frustrated when you come. It's going to be one day for a couple hours of the day, and the signage will go up on September 1st.
Thank you always. I appreciate your kindness and your big heart. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to call forward Got Your Back San Diego founders, Bill and Sue McLeod, and Executive Director Cece Haas.
Thank you again.
Proclamation in honor of Got Your Back San Diego. Whereas Got Your Back San Diego, GYBSD, a program of American Relief Organization, is a community nonprofit based in Oceanside, California, for the benefit of Oceanside and San Diego County elementary school children. And whereas the mission of GYBSD is to provide weekend meals in backpacks for children who attend our public schools and are homeless or food insecure, and whereas without the backpacks of food provided by GYBSD, the children would return to school on Monday mornings hungry and unable to concentrate on their studies, and whereas any child in the participating public elementary schools needing a backpack has the opportunity to enter the GYBSD Backpack Relief Program, and whereas the staff and volunteers of GYBSD work hard to obtain donations of food and funds to purchase food that provide much needed meals for our local hungry and homeless elementary children, and whereas GYBSD is celebrating its 4th year of providing meals for local public elementary school children, now therefore be it resolved that I, Jim Wood, Mayor of the City of Oceanside, California, do hereby proclaim August 6, 2014 as Got Your Back San Diego Day in the City of Oceanside. I further wish to thank all GYBSD staff and volunteers for their efforts to help better the lives of hungry and homeless children living in Oceanside and the San Diego County communities. Issued the 6th day of August, 2014.
Well, I was so grateful to have the opportunity to come and to just let you know what is going on, because I really want to bring to your attention, think about it right now. Some of you are getting hungry for dinner. What if right now you were not eating since lunch today until Saturday morning when you came back to school? That's how long it would be for right now, normally Friday to Monday. So think about it right now. You're hungry. You're not going to eat until Saturday. How do you feel about that? I know I would be grumpy. I would be having a headache, maybe feeling kind of dizzy, faint. Now picture yourself as an elementary school child. What do you do there? They can't fend for themselves. So I want to introduce you to some heroes in my life who I wanted this day for too. Because about 4 years ago, they happened to be buying a puppy up in Orange County, and good old puppy, he brought this together. So there was someone up there that was doing a similar program. Bill got to talking to him and decided to start that down here. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit, American Relief Organization, with the program of Got Your Back San Diego. We provide a backpack with food like you see up here. This is exactly one of our backpacks. The backpacks are, we try to keep them as, you know, non-showy, something that just blends in, but is sturdy. And then we have 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 dinners, and 2 snacks. And it has to be shelf-stable and something that's not going to get broken or smushed or things like that, because again, these are elementary school kids. They take it home on Friday. They get it from a school classroom. We have liaisons at each of the public schools that we work with. We deliver the backpacks on Thursday. We have volunteers that pack them on Tuesday nights at our warehouse in Oceanside. And then the kids get them and they bring back those backpacks again on Monday, and then they're recycled back to us. It's a phenomenal program, and a lot of people don't realize how many homeless, hungry, food insecure, we call it, where they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. They don't realize that these are right here in Oceanside. You know, Vista, San Marcos, but really here in Oceanside and Vista is where we serve the most right now. Our goal is to expand. We're only serving 150 children right now out of 16,000 that the McKinney-Vento Act, which is an act that deems that they're homeless or don't live in a domicile that is normal. We don't go by any state government constrictions. We specifically go by if the school liaison, either the nurse, the psychologist, whoever is appointed, tells us that this child needs our help. So we're not restricted by that, which is really, really, really great. So we need donations, obviously. We can buy food for 18 cents a pound, which is incredible. And then, like right now, we need a forklift desperately for pallets of food that we do get. You know, things like that. And I know that all of you have people that you know, people of influence. So that's all I wanted to do, is bring it to you, let you know about these amazing people, Bill and Sue, and what they started and what's going on. And everybody I talk to has no idea that this is going on right in our own backyard. So I wanted to let you know that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. This is certainly a real awesome honor, and I don't feel like a hero. I don't feel like a hero, and I know that Bill doesn't either. It's just people helping people, and that's what we should all be doing. There's people that rescue little cats and dogs and, you know, dolphins, and pay for people to have shoes. You know, he's given people on the street money to go get shoes, and, you know, it's kind of escalated into food for kids now. I know what it's like to have to really be creative and feed my family. I've had ups and downs in our 44 years of marriage. I know what it's like to go to the grocery store and stand in line and worry that you're not going to go over the amount of money you know you have in your account, and then the embarrassment of having to put things back. I've had that in my life, and when I go to stores and I see women with kids and I wonder what they're thinking. I have to buy toilet paper
and buy the smallest amount so that they can buy food. I mean, what a thing to have to think about and be burdened with. And then there's moms who really and truly cannot feed their kids. They know on Friday that they're going to have to tell their kids, you are not hungry, go out and play, and don't even think about it because there's nothing to eat. That's how they deal with it a lot. They live in that world of denial. There's nothing to eat, so I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to go play. So, and it's a cycle, so what we can do is just a little bit. And, we're busy. We have to work every day, our businesses, and most everybody does, but we can always do something. And this is what we chose to do. And it's amazing. It really is a miracle every week that there's food on those shelves. Every week. Can you imagine having to replace enough food for 150 backpacks every week? Yeah, it's 900 meals. And there's, our packers come in on Tuesday night, and our volunteer guy, he does our warehouse, he'd say there's literally not one can of tuna fish stew. There's no oatmeal left. There's not a thing. There's like nothing. And I'll take a picture, and I'm like, well, hasn't God provided? He did less. He's been doing it every week. It just shows up. And so we know that we're doing all we can, and really awareness is what is key. So thank you for honoring Got Your Back. And here's my husband, Bill.
What can I say that hasn't already been said? CC is just an amazing executive director, and Sue and I just wanted to feed kids, but we didn't understand the business behind feeding kids, and CC completes us. So I just want to say thank you, and Mike. So thank you. But just one thing I just wanted to say, if I could. A lot of times when you're driving around beautiful Oceanside, beautiful San Diego County, and you've got palm trees and the warm wind blowing in your hair, maybe you're driving a convertible or a nice Harley, or you're out on your boat, or things are good. And it's difficult to get your head around sometimes 16,000 kids in San Diego school districts, 42 districts in San Diego County, who aren't eating on the weekends or aren't eating well. That was a paradigm shift for me. It was easy for me to think of homeless kids under bridges and in the streets and living in fields, but homeless kids in school was a shift that I had to first get my head around. And once I did, I realized that, there's more to just kids not eating. It's what happens to those kids in their adult development. We get calls from some of the school liaisons who said, we were about to have little Johnny be taken out of the school. Because every Monday he'd come in and he's antisocial, he gets in trouble, he gets in fights, he can't concentrate on his work, he's a distraction in the class. But since he's been eating, he's a different person, different kid. And that's why we do this. You don't know who the next mayor is going to be. Could be sitting in one of those classrooms right now and loses that opportunity because he couldn't get his act together, or she couldn't get her act together on Monday morning until Tuesday or Wednesday, when that the nutrition from the school lunches start to kick in. So it's more than just feeding kids. It's realizing that these people are trying to make the best of their lives. They're showing up for the game. They're in school. They're not ditching school. They're not getting in trouble. They're trying. And to help with a little bit of food to make that their dreams come true, even if all it is to get a high school diploma. That's what Got Your Back San Diego is about. So thank you again. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of things here. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. There's ways to give to these people, and you know that, and I appreciate it. The other thing is for their cause, and there's many causes out there, believe me. On the other hand, one of them that you said, a forklift. If you have contacts or friends or somebody has a used one or whatever, keep that in mind. That's a big item. We know that, and sometimes you can get people listen to this or calls. Call in. If you can't get a hold of them, call the City of Oceanside. We'll make sure you get contacted, and I appreciate that very much. Yes, it's live on TV, so, yeah, live on TV, so anyhow, I want to thank, let's hear it again for them. I want to get a picture here.
For the following individuals from the Oceanside Unified School District, please come forward. Dr. Adrian Hakes, President of OUSD Board of Education. Dr. Dwayne Coleman, Superintendent of Schools. Dan Barris, Coordinator of Student Services. Tim Ware, Kids First Team Member. James Greer, Kids First Team Member.
There's another board member.
Laura Vine, Kids First Team Member. Emily Richmond, School Board Member. Margaret Malik, Kids First Program Specialist. And Bobby DePorter, President and Founder of Quantum Learning Network. Did I get everyone?
This group, I wouldn't buy it.
Absolutely, I sure can. Proclamation in honor of Oceanside Unified School District's Kids First Initiative and the 8 Keys of Excellence. Whereas the Oceanside Unified School District, OUSD, is a community-based association of, by, and for the benefit of Oceanside residents, and whereas the mission of OUSD's Kids First initiative demonstrates character in everything they do, including challenging their youth to pursue high standards 365 days a year by promoting excellence in schools, businesses, and community and faith-based organizations. And whereas the Oceanside City Council is encouraged to live by Quantum Learning Network's following 8 Keys of Excellence as adopted by OUSD, providing integrity to the citizens of Oceanside, using failure as feedback to provide information needed to learn, grow, and succeed, speaking with good purpose, keeping a positive attitude when difficult situations arise, demonstrating commitment by taking positive action and persevering in the pursuit of goals, taking ownership for the success of Oceanside, being flexible and willing to do things differently to achieve the goals set forth for Oceanside, choosing a life of balance to serve as a role model of excellence for the residents of Oceanside. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jim Wood, Mayor of the City of Oceanside, California, do hereby proclaim August 6, 2014 as a Community of Excellence Day in the City of Oceanside. I further wish to thank all Oceanside Unified School District employees, students, families, and Oceanside business members who are participating in the Character Excellence Movement to make a great community even better. Issued the 6th day of August, 2014.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I pass this mic off to somebody to explain this lineup here, I don't mean lineup like in the police, but this particular lineup, if you go to any event like I do, one or all these people will be there. They're part of this community on a daily basis, and I mean a big part of the community. I want to thank them before just the proclamations about this event, but let me tell you, if you get to that top level of everybody who's involved in the city of Oceanside on a daily basis, this is the group along with others. But like I say, I want to thank each one of you for being so part of Oceanside, the school district, the kids. This proclamation is for all the things you do on a daily basis to make Oceanside better. What you're doing for us is you're going to be performing your duties to make all these people behind you, including me, our replacements. Yeah, all the mayor, council people, everybody, you're doing it for the future of Oceanside. So I want to say personally first, thank you for the council, all of us. But I'm assuming, Doctor, you get the mic right now?
I guess I do. We're pretty proud of this initiative. It's starting its second year within the district, but we're reaching out to the community more and more. We had a big community meeting last June. And we're excited to have partnerships in the community where meetings are being held, where the parents and the students are talking about how they can manage to live the keys. So we urge you to take a look at them. And I know most of you are using most of them, but to be organized and committed to them is really a wonderful thing for the whole community. I think our new superintendent might like to say a word too.
Each one of you, say what you want to say, but pass the mic down. If you don't want to speak, at least tell everybody your name and who you are and what you do.
My name is Dwayne Coleman. I am the superintendent here in Oceanside. And, I also, before we continue, I want to thank Bill and Sue at CC. That's an amazing program, and I know that you're feeding our kids also, and we appreciate that. And this program that we have, the Kids First program, the character piece is about the 8 keys. And Bobby, thank you for QLN being a part of that. None of this could have happened without the support of our school board. And you met Dr. Hakes and Mitch Wichman, but we have 3 other school boards that are 100% behind this, and credit goes to them for making this happen and continuing to make this happen. Also, I want to thank the mayor, city council members, and staff. You all have been very supportive, and I think the first year we talked about this was, you'll know when this is really taking off is when I can walk into a store in Oceanside and I can hear a store owner talking about the 8 keys, or kids first, or putting our kids first. And we see posters up, and it becomes part of our culture. And that's the goal, for this to become part of the Oceanside, the city of Oceanside culture, not just the school district. It just started there, but this is to build that culture in Oceanside. So I want to thank you on behalf of the school district, the school board, for this proclamation, Mayor. And I'm going to turn this over to the feet on the ground, the team that gets it done here, and I'm going to start with Margaret Malik.
Thank you, Dwayne. We're so excited to have Dr. Coleman as our new superintendent. He has quite the vision for our district. So would you like to share that now?
This is not scripted, trust me. I did, one of the things that we're looking at, and this includes everything we do, and Kids First is one of those things, is the vision of the lens that I want all of us to look at how we service our kids. And I did pass out, the cards will be passed out to each of the council members and staff. The time we have with our kids will be effective and efficient, not wasting 1 minute, 1 second while we have them in our hands. And so you'll be seeing this vision statement in in action and in words, in how we look at our programs, how we treat our employees, how we treat our kids. We want to be effective and efficient. And programs like Got Your Back, Kids First, is an example of being more effective and efficient with our kids in order for student achievement to happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. My name's Margaret Malik. I'm the Kids First Program Specialist for Oceanside Unified School District. And the Kids First initiative is a three-pronged initiative where we are focusing on safety of our students. We all know how important safety is for our kids with all of the atrocities that have been happening at our school sites. Safety is huge. Safety is number one for us, keeping our kids safe. The second prong is wellness. How can we support our students in being well, emotionally, physically, and mentally? How can we support them? And then the third prong of the Kids First initiative is character development. And the vehicle we're using is the 8 Keys of Excellence, created by Bobby DePorter and Quantum Learning Network. And I am so honored to bring the 8 Keys of Excellence to all students kindergarten through 12th grade. I'm sorry, preschool through college, 16, preschool through 16, and to live in this community with a city council that welcomes us with open arms, with a board of education that is far superior to any board I've ever seen, with a community that's willing to reach out and join with us in truly creating a community of excellence by surrounding our youth with excellent character. And Dr. Hakes mentioned that we had the Building a Community of Excellence meeting in June where 100 people came together to look at what we could do to surround our youth with excellent character and how we can support them in living their best lives and developing those core values that are so important. And out of that came some committees. And I'm so excited to be able to say that two members from our committee are actually sitting in the audience. We think that if our students are exposed to excellent character in school and in their homes and in the community, then they have a great chance of living a very successful life. So we have 2 members. I would like to acknowledge Kelly Madden and Robin Cotledge from La Mission Apartments on Mission Avenue. They have adopted the 8 Keys. They had a meet and greet last Wednesday where Associate Superintendent came out and our Director of Student Services, and we did an 8 Keys and Kids First introduction to the families. And so we've just opened the conversation to have our families really truly begin having the conversation about what excellent character is. So I just really want to acknowledge Kelly and Robin for being the pioneers and the first ones to do this. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And by the way, they didn't even know that we were going to be here tonight. They just happened to show up.
Hi, my name is Laura Vines.
Hi, my name is James Greer, and I'm just so excited to be a part of this special movement. I am a Oceanside, but raised in Oceanside, so I've been here for 37 years. And so it's definitely exciting to be a part of this movement, to get back to our youth, because they are indeed our future. So thank you to our board and to our superintendent for continuing to support us and help us educate the whole entire student. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Darris. I'm the coordinator of Student Services for the Oceanside Unified School District. And Student Services Department is exactly that, providing services for our students and our parents and our family. And the 8 Keys is an integral part of providing those services for both the students and the family.
Hi, I'm Tim Ware, School Intervention Manager for the Oceanside Unified School District.
Hi, my name is Emily Ortiz-Switchman, and I'm a school board member. I've also been going to the meetings with our apartment. These ladies have been fantastic. I tell them that they're trailblazers because not only their apartment, but every other apartment in the city to get on board in different areas in our city, so we can all catch that. They can all catch the vision, and these ladies are doing a fantastic job starting it out. Thank you.
I'm Bobby D. Porter. I'm president of Quantum Learning Network, and we developed the 8 Keys of Excellence over 30 years ago. So they have reached a lot of kids, and we see the difference that it's made, and I'm just so proud that this is a community of excellence in Oceanside. This is our home, and to partner and support the Kids First initiative and to be part of that initiative. Because, you know, the 8 Keys, they create a core inside kids that become who they are, an expression of who they are, and it builds pride, and it changes behavior, it changes how they feel about themselves and how they want to contribute to the world. And so being part of having the 8 Keys adopted by the district a couple years ago, and now reaching out to the community, because I feel like with every adult standing up for kids is really putting kids first. You know, that the kids are not on their own learning something, that they should learn something or behave a certain way, but when adults are modeling the behavior and talking about the 8 Keys in the language and standing up for kids, it really is putting kids first, and we're very proud to be part of it.
Ladies, please identify yourself.
I'm Robin, the manager of La Mission Village Apartments in Oceanside.
My name is Kelly with La Mission. I'm the assistant manager with La Mission Village in Oceanside.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get a photo with this wonderful group, and we'll probably have to squeeze it in or go 2 rows. And the other thing is, with the proclamation, it really says it all for all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, again, these are the people at the front, leading the rest of us and all the things that go on in the city of Oceanside. You want to come on this side and balance it out. Right. Anyhow, one more time, besides the photo, let's give a round of applause for these wonderful, wonderful people. Thank you all for being here and all the things you do. Really, you're. Is that it, Debbie? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. It's always nice to honor people that do so much for a community. Sometimes that takes a little bit of your time, but we do appreciate that. And with that, Mr. Clerk, let me see. Go with the city attorney closed session report, if we may, please. Thank you.
Thank you. The City Council met in closed session to discuss item 1 on the agenda, conference with labor negotiator involving the Oceanside Firefighters Association, Oceanside Police Officers Association non-sworn, and the unrepresented employees, including the executive management. There's no action to report on that item. Item 2, conference with real estate negotiator involving the property bounded by Pacific Street, Meyer Street, Seagaze Drive, and Civic Center Drive. It's the Oceanside Beach Resort. Negotiating parties are SD Malkin Properties and the city, and under negotiations are price and terms for the disposition agreement. Again, no action to report on item 2. Item 3, conference with legal counsel on existing litigation involving Dunnex Cavalier Mobile Estates versus City of Oceanside and Miller versus City of Oceanside. There's, again, no action to report. Informational briefings on both those cases only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Mr. Clerk, how many on public?
9.
None?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll skip that one then.
Okay.
Go forward. And item number 22, please.
Yes. City Attorney, would you like to read this one? Oh, I'm so sorry. Introduction of the ordinance. Councilman. Request by Councilmember Falim to review options and costs to provide streetlights to the portion of the city covered by the villages of Rancho Del Oro Homeowners Association and provide direction of staff.
Hey, thank you. First, I guess I need to start off and disclaimer that I, the city manager, and the former city manager all live in Rancho Del Oro, but we have been cleared by the city attorney and the Fair Political Practices Commission to opine on this subject since it deals with maintenance of a basic utility.
Also, just want to, also for clarification, the last time we discussed this, the Rancho Del Oro Homeowners Association straddles College between Oceanside Boulevard and the 76, or and it does not deal with the homes along the street of Rancho Del Oro. So with that out there, in the past, the city and the Homeowners Association have had a very controversial relationship that resulted in a lawsuit that the city won. But as we often know in life, the law and justice are not often the same thing. And when I had a chance to go through the agreements that are used, as I look at them in simple terms, the city had the responsibility to maintain the fixtures and the street lights, but they then were supposed to prepare a bill to give to the Homeowners Association for them to pay everything that was in excess of the normal standard city costs. And the Homeowners Association had the responsibility to set aside reserves in anticipation of receiving those bills from the city. Neither was done. Now that's my opinion. Others may not share that in part or entirely, but as of now, we still have the problem of 198 lights that have not been replaced, that are darkening these neighborhoods and making them less safe. And as of now, the Homeowners Association does not want to work with the city to preserve the unique poles and fixtures that are used in that neighborhood. I've tried multiple times to contact the president of the board and work with the association and has gotten no response on that. So I would like to make the following motion to be considered by my colleagues, that the city will take 100% responsibility for the street lights. The city will choose the fixtures and poles that are used. The city manager will identify funds in the street light budget to replace all the removed light poles and the fixtures and prepare a timetable for completion, and that the replacement will be done in a manner so that there is no negative impact on the normal maintenance and replacements for street lights in the remainder of the city.
Motion? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion to begin with.
Thank you. Public on this?
Yes, there are two members of the public wishing to speak on this item. First, we have Joan Brubaker. Second, we have Jimmy Knott.
Interesting.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Actually, this was brought up, it seems about 2 years ago, maybe not quite that long. But when that development was made, the builder put in a different lighting system than the city had normally used and felt it was needed to complete the project. But apparently they didn't get through to the Homeowners Association for it to draw enough money from each of the purchasers of property in order to keep the thing repaired. I feel it's a responsibility of the HOA of that group of homes, not the city of Oceanside. They bit off a bite of bread. Now they need to chew it. I feel it's an irresponsibility of the Homeowners Association, not the city of Oceanside. I don't think I'd have to pay anything on it, but I just feel it's a poor way to do business for both parties. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. When I saw this, it's exactly the same thing. This has come before you a few times. And as before, I would encourage you to look at solar systems like what they have out at Camp Pendleton and other locations. Also to contact the Public Utilities Commission, SDG&E, and other agencies, because there is funding available. Also, underneath those agencies, they have established a fine system where there are people and groups that have been fined, and money is available to take and use for establishing alternative power public systems. So I would encourage you to look into that resource as well. I've seen that used in other locations around the state. And since this is a 100% responsibility idea, I think that you might want to consider establishing a specific lighting district for this area that would take and then be responsible in some form of a taxable or fee situation. Thank you.
No further public on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to note the change in your position, and I appreciate you bringing this forward. I think that what, Councilmember Feline, when you prefaced your comments that you have tried to contact the HOA and you've not gotten any calls back, that is not something that I think is very positive for us to, in order for us to address this issue. We had at the beginning offered to meet them halfway. At the city's expense, the ones that were considered dangerous condition were removed. City's expense, we didn't charge them for that, and we probably could have under the conditions of the homeowners association's rules. I still feel that 50% is where what I'd be willing to do. Historically, what happened was we offered that, they said yes, then they said no, and then it was no, and then unfortunately, finances worldwide tanked, and we no longer had the 50% funds, and so then, of course, we were sued. I'm willing to go back to the 50% because I think that it's at one level it's unfair that the homeowners who have been paying, and I have family living there who have been paying their dues every year, and they assumed that the homeowner association was doing its job to ensure that there were these lights. I think establishing a district, something that we could consider doing, but this was an actual project that was done, a planned project, and if we do this for this one, we'd have to do it for others, and I'm not sure we could do that. I don't think it would be fair to our citizens. At one level, it would be almost a gift of public funds, and I am concerned about that. But I am concerned about safety. I have been from the very beginning, and I think I was the one that pushed for 50%, and I'm willing to do that if that's something that we can afford, and I would certainly want to hear from the city manager on that point. I think we had an amount once before. I don't know if we have that amount anymore. As I understood it, as I recall, there were in varying degrees of danger and replacement, because their lifespan was much less. It was 25 years or something versus our regular street lights, which are 50 years plus. So I would support the 50% if that is something that city manager is able to support as well. Thank you.
Hi, Mike. I'll speak up. This is a very old issue on that neighborhood. Again, a little bit highlights again. You've heard some of them. This homeowners association, the builder decided to go with a light pole that didn't have the life expectancy that we would put up. They wanted to do it, was in their contract with us and the city that they would do it and take care of it. In writing, they'd take care of it. Well, when they started rusting and falling apart, it became a public safety issue, so we had to go out and take down a lot of the light poles in the neighborhood for public safety reasons. We didn't charge them, as you heard. Then the issue became important because we got a lot of letters saying it's dark out there and the city should fix these lights. It went to the city staff, the city attorney, and it all came out in the contract, and they're responsible for those light poles because of what they did, what they picked, and they waived all that because they wanted a particular light pole. So they indicated they're responsible for not only the poles but the upkeep. Because of the danger, we did it for free, and the ones we had to cut down. It subsequently went to some issues over the legalities, etc. We told them we'd like to cooperate and help them with it, but it's really their issue. The big point with us as a city council and any other city is, do we set a precedent once we have one homeowners association where we come along and said, we'll fix your damages because you didn't do a very good job in what you did in your contract? Do I have to do it with every other one in the city of Oceanside? So it became a real issue that if we do it once, we'll probably have to do it for everybody else. That got us a lot more letters complaining that the public safety for those people out there. We tried to talk to the homeowners association. They didn't cooperate much with the city of Oceanside at all. It subsequently came to a lawsuit. They sued us. They lost it in court. And we won. So it's really up to them to fix their own lights. We had tried to bend over backwards to try to assist them in some aspect. They didn't seem to want to do it, and their attorney was very pushy. So we still are at that point where it's their responsibility. They didn't wish to deal with us. They sued us and tied us in court, and they lost. So here we are again bringing it up. My concerns on this particular issue, do we set a precedent? Number one, do all of you pay for their lights because they did something inappropriate or wrong at the time? I don't think I can sell it to the public that you will pay for their lights because they did something different than any other neighborhood. I have had a hard time for me to sell it to you. That's one of the problems I have here, number one. Why should you pay for something? Secondly, can you imagine after we do it, how many other homeowners associations will come along and say, whatever it is, the plumbing, the lights, whatever it is, we can't afford to pay for it, so the city should do it. We really set ourselves up for a nightmare. This had disappeared quite a while back with the understanding that we still would try to assist them and help them and maybe even pay half of it. They never responded back to us at all, and it's been a while. So now we see it again. I'm sorry to see this thing, and it's sorry that it happened, but it isn't like we take a legal document and throw it out the window. They made the legal document. We're agreeing with it. It's their responsibility, and we're not going to pay for it, and they lost it in court, as I said. Here's the other problem, timing. This appears to me and other people that it's election time, and we're going to put an item on and try to have the rest of the citizens pay for an item during the middle of the election year to look good, is what I'm getting out of this. I don't support this, but I'm always open to talks with these homeowners association. If they've been getting fees all this time, they're supposed to, they should have the money to do it. This is not a real old neighborhood. It's a fairly nice area. And I feel sorry for them, but like I say, do we set ourselves up for next time and the next possibility HOA? So with that, I'm not in support of this at all, but I'd be willing to talk to people about it and have them come and talk to the city. We've done that for at least a year or more with lack of cooperation from their side. And when I say their side, I'm not saying every homeowner out there, I'm talking about their HOA board. So they had lawyers, they had everything, they paid for the lawyers, and here we are again a long time down the road. So I don't support this, but I'll be willing to sit down and discuss it with the city staff. But then again, if I came back to you and said, we're going to replace how many poles out there, staff? I thought it was like a few hundred. So with that, I'm concerned the cost involved, and should you all pay for it? I'm not sure that the other city would pay for your same issue if it was your saying, please fix it. With that, that's all I have to say. It doesn't mean these aren't nice people in a great neighborhood, but it comes down to how far we as a city legally can do things. So with that, I'm not in favor of this, but we'll talk. With that, I'll pass this on to, excuse me, Councilmember Kern.
Thank you. I'm kind of concerned too. I know we won, and I know there's a problem, and I think what we have to do is figure out how to solve the problem. I don't mind taking 100% responsibility of the thoroughfare streets, those streets where every citizen on the Oceanside drives on for safety reasons. The idea that you have people jogging, it gets dark, people walking on the side of the road. But the idea when you get back into the neighborhood streets, I think they should take their own responsibility. And I was hoping that the olive branch, that we could just reach out to them and see what we can work out. I know we get complaints, and I know that they're kind of caught. They feel that they have paid their management company and they've paid for these lights, and they feel that they don't need to pay any more. But again, the idea of the rest of the citizens of Oceanside shouldn't have to come in and bail them out. And I know there's funds available. I know that we can, some of the savings we get for LEDs and some of these other things that, not the impact to general fund. I would hope that you would kind of amend the motion, the idea to direct the city manager to make contact and to see what they can work out with the homeowners association. I still feel that something has to be done. The idea that the individual homeowner is feeling neglected by his homeowner association and by the city because they don't have streetlights, which they feel adds to their safety. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to solve this tonight. I think it's a good start that we are willing to talk again, that we're not going to shove this under the rug, but I think they need to meet us halfway and at least talk to us. I mean, I think that's the big thing. I mean, the idea, if they can work out a payment, I don't even mind if we loan them the money and they pay us back over a period of time, but the idea that we need them to reach out to us instead of us doing everything, because I think it doesn't send a good message that, okay, we win the lawsuit, they stop talking to us, oh, we go ahead and replace the streetlights. I think there's a real issue with that. So I commend Councilmember Feline to saying, okay, because I know he probably gets more directed towards him since he lives in the neighborhood, and people walking down the street probably contact him about the streetlights. And since I live in a different part of the city, that I have streetlights. I have the 75-year streetlights. I have the Cobra Head concrete lights. So the idea, in fact, I have one out. I don't even need a light in my backyard because I have one right over the fence on Douglas Drive. So I don't need any outside lighting. So the city's paying for my outside lighting in my yard. So I think I would like, instead of making a motion, I think giving direction to staff, to have staff contact the homeowners association and see if they are willing to talk to us and see if we can resolve the problem. I think that's something that we can do. And I think, because I got a sense of willingness on the mayor's part and deputy mayor's part, that they're willing to work on this. But it's not like we're going to jump in and do everything for them. So that's probably the extent of my comments, but I think this is a good first step, but I think we need to explore it further.
Councilmember Feller, please.
Thank you. We received a kind of a revised replacement sheet, and I would like the city manager, if he would explain what the cost is, what we're talking about as far as where that funding comes from, and remembering that probably 80-90% of those people that live in those houses weren't there when the deal was made in 1989. The HOA has changed as well, I think even the management company has changed. So before you answer that, Mr. Jepson, does anybody know, Scott, how many other HOAs there are that this could be affected? We're talking about everybody in the city coming in asking for new streetlights, and I would be interested to know. Maybe that's for a future meeting, but at least to understand how many more of these types of businesses or arrangements are out there. So I don't believe there's probably any, but this was one that was in particular made just because they wanted a certain pole that didn't last very long. So do you have that answer, or do you want to wait? You don't have that answer.
I can partially address that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, with your permission?
You have it.
I have it. To start with a couple of facts, obviously I'm kind of Johnny-come-lately here on this issue, but to get up to speed with it, the streetlight district is funded by a special assessment for streetlights primarily. The budget for streetlights and traffic signals is together, and it's a little over $1.5 million. In addition to the streetlight assessment, there's roughly $400,000 of fuel tax money that's put into that account. So the general fund doesn't subsidize it. It's primarily streetlight assessment, fuel tax. Now, if the fuel tax wasn't going into the streetlights, which is an eligible expense, it could be used for other transportation-related things. And my understanding that, and certainly the city attorney can chime in here, that the lawsuit that went on, as unfortunate as it may be, because it seems like there was a lot of common ground to be reached there, was predicated on the city's inability to pay. And here's what's happened over the last couple years subsequent to the lawsuit. The city had purchased the streetlight system from Pacific Gas and Electric. And last year, San Diego Gas and Electric, sorry.
Not Yuba County.
Right. The council advanced some money to pay off the acquisition last year. And you subsequently have paid off those bonds early, which created some additional cash flow in the streetlight district fund for this year. So when we put the budget together for this year, the budget was similar to what had been in the past. The difference being that we didn't have the debt service anymore, so that there's additional funds that are going into the streetlight district funding that are being set aside in a reserve account. Now, the reserve account can be used for anything the council deems would be appropriate relative to streetlights. You can use it to fix street lights. You can use it, in this case, to replace poles, or you could just leave it there for something that may happen in terms of catastrophic cost somewhere down the line. The other thing that's happened is the city has gone to a conversion program, converting the high-pressure sodium to LEDs. That will result in somewhere between a 50% and 70% savings in our energy cost. It's substantial, but it's weighed against the cost of having to do that conversion. That will be paid off in 12 years. Now, the net for this is that the city has a huge amount of savings every year, roughly $190,000, $200,000 in maintenance cost, because we don't have to replace the fixtures as often. The LEDs last 20 to 25 years. High-pressure sodium fixtures lasted between 3 and 5 years. So the bottom line is that over the next 20 years, the city will net some $4 million in energy savings. Isn't going to help you near term. It certainly will after the bonds are paid off or the loan is paid off for the LED conversion. That's 12 years from now. But the good news is that there's significant savings on the horizon because of the action you took to go to the LEDs. Now, all that said, the bottom line is that the difference between now and when you're in the lawsuit 2 years ago is that there is some capacity if you choose to use it. There's some capacity for you to go out and replace these poles or do anything else you want to do. Obviously, you can't do it all in 1 year. The additional question that was asked of me is how many of these poles that need to be replaced actually are failed already. And there's some roughly 200 poles that currently need to be replaced. Based on the funding that we're setting aside, if you committed it all to this, it would take between 2 and 3 years to deal with that and anything that fails in the interim. I asked the city engineer this question: how rapidly are these failing? If there's 200 of them that have failed over the last few years, and what's causing that? Well, there's a lot of poles that are not in a failed condition. They've got a life that's substantially less than the concrete poles, but they could last several more years. So there's a need for us to address this over an extended period of time that would suggest we don't have to run out and replace 600 or 700 poles. Now, although we do have a need to replace 200 of them, the last thing I want to say is relative to how many more of these are there out there. There are private subdivisions that are responsible for their own water lines, sewer lines, street repair, and street lights. A lot of them are gated communities. I don't know how many of them are private beyond that, but there are some that may make a request that are privatized. However, we don't provide them maintenance for their streets, and we don't sweep their streets, so they're easy to identify. The largest single impact is this Rancho del Oro district. We have over 8,000 streetlights in the city, and they represent roughly 8% of those. I don't know where the council wants to go with this. It's not going to impact your general fund. You're setting aside money that if you choose to use it for this, you can. There's still the equity issue that was mentioned by the mayor and the deputy mayor and council member Kern relative to what the original deal was with Rancho del Oro. That deal was struck with developers, and probably most of the residents don't realize they're subject to that, although I'm sure the HOAs by now, the HOAs are clearly aware that they're subject to that deal from the lawsuit that happened. So, I'm here to do whatever the discretion of the council is with regard to moving forward. If you want me to meet with the homeowners association, I clearly can do that. If there's some middle ground between where we were at one point, roughly 50%, and paying for everything, I don't know. I'm certainly happy to talk to them further if that's the direction of the council. But this is in your hands. Perhaps the city attorney would want to give you some more information relative to the lawsuit. The basis for that was I understand, our inability to pay. He'll tell you. Well, and there's one other thing. It has to do with if this would be some kind of gift of public funds. I don't believe it would be. It falls in with what we do with water lines and sewer lines and that kind of stuff. But Mr. Attorney.
Just to clarify a couple points, these are city poles, so we own these poles. We've never disputed the fact that these are city lights. There was a ranch maintenance agreement that was negotiated and signed between the developer and the city, which divvied up the cost for maintaining these poles. Replacement obligation, I believe, was clearly on the developer, but the length of the term of that agreement, I believe, was only 10 years, and it's been expired. So we've never disputed the fact that these are city poles, and that's what gave us the authority to go in and remove them, because they were a safety hazard. There were several, as you know, that were falling down. There was not a funding source to replace these lights when the negotiations between the HOA and the city were going on. We did offer to a multitude of different proposals to split the costs equitably so that we could expeditiously replace them. We didn't have success reaching an agreement with the homeowners association, and they ended up suing us. And, essentially, without going into the entire ruling of the court, it was basically a separation of powers argument that the court can't order the city to provide streetlights. There's no specific statute obligating us to provide streetlights, especially when there was no funding at the time to do it. I think even though you have a little bit more funding now, that law doesn't change. There's no legal obligation, but there are lights, and if we choose to, as a matter of policy, you could begin replacing some of them if that's clearly within your discretion, and that would not contradict the position that we took in court. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about that.
My point too on this one would be, there's like 200 poles that are damaged and rusted and they're going to fall down that we had to cut down. But there's a total of like 600 lights in that area. Now, if we do 200, what are we going to do with the other 400 as they slowly rot? We're going to pay and replace 600 poles and lights at the cost of you and I and everybody else in the city. That's what bothers me. They probably wouldn't do it for us, and I'm not lacking of compassion, but they certainly didn't want to deal with us and when we'd be starting this thing. So I again want to say I'm concerned about a total of 600 lights, not 200 lights, and the cost involved. And with that, I better push the buttons. And Mr.
I'm still not quite finished. This association had, just prior to us discussing the polls going down, had $700,000 in their account strictly for light replacement. That was a line item on their bill. You probably have a copy of that, and I think they just totally denied that through the whole time we were negotiating. That money has disappeared, and when the money disappeared, nobody seemed to know anything about where it went, and I think that's a serious question that needs to be asked of these people. So I'm thinking that the 100% is probably something that we want to think about, and I'll let you decide what you want to do, Gary. But I think the city manager has enough ammunition. I think we also have given him approval that maybe, in a time frame of 30 or 60 days, meet and have some discussion to handle how the negotiations, so that it could somehow be understood exactly how it goes forward. There is the problem of having the 600 polls, and that is considerable. So maybe there is something for us in that in the negotiation. We know we won, and I applaud the fact that you're trying to figure out a way to solve this, and I know you've been working on it for a year, trying to meet with those the association. But I think things are different, and if they don't come to the table, there's probably a lot of things that we can do to get them in a meeting with the city manager. So if you would want to amend your motion to something that would be kind of conciliatory, and maybe figure a motion that would would get us in a negotiating state with the.
Well, I guess the point I want to emphasize a couple issues, and I've certainly got the feedback from my colleagues. Of course, it's always easy to disparage the motives of colleague claiming everything's election pandering, but the issue, you know, in addition to the attempts that everyone on the city has made to contact with the board, is went down, attended a meeting, tried to, basically get there, go through the door, and on this issue, we don't have a partner. We have a dysfunctional partner. So so I want to just emphasize to my colleagues here, however, whatever method we eventually decide to resolve this, in my opinion, the issue of negotiating with the homeowners association or coming to some kind of deal is a closed door. The point I also want to emphasize is that the reason I'm saying 100% is precisely the closed door, but not to add that burden to everyone else in the city, because I agree 100% here with everyone that the rest of the city should not be paying for special streetlights and special fixtures in my neighborhood when they don't have those kind of special fixtures. Absolutely right. So the point I emphasized, and maybe it wasn't clear, but is that the city will pick the replacement fixtures and lights, and the whole point is to come up with some method, and I'm open, obviously there's a body, we're not ready to move forward here, but my point is to phase in where Rancho Del Oro has the same fixtures as everyone else. They're getting the same services for everyone else by paying the same taxes as everyone else. It's not to maintain a special status for the city where we're shelling out higher expenses for for them to get something special that the other neighborhoods of the city are not, which is why I emphasize the issue that the plan would not be done in any way that impacts on what's currently being done for every other neighborhood in the city to maintain their street lights. And so with that, and in view of the feedback I got, certainly the issue here is, I can see as a body we're not ready to move forward. That's fine. This is a horribly controversial issue. It was very ugly. I came on the council kind of while it was halfway and getting ready to go in the court. I think certainly the homeowner association hasn't done everything it should, but I don't feel the city through this entire process did everything it should have either. So it's not a case of one person wearing only the white hat and the other person only wearing the black hat. So I'm trying to look through a way that I feel, and I would hope to emphasize to my colleagues here, that that the issue of the lighting and the safety is only going to be solved by the city. There's no partnership there to work with. So I'm open to suggestions here, and I guess since I've certainly gotten the sense of my colleagues, and I will admit my emotion to have the city manager prepare a report that if the city were to take 100% responsibility, where would the money come from, and what would a timetable be, and to repair the immediate 200 lights that are out, and you can certainly add on the what we're looking like for a timetable for the remaining 600. But my goal is to phase Rancho Del Oro to go from the special fixtures to the city normal fixtures that everyone else uses, so that we're all basically in the same boat when it comes to street lights.
I would ask that if you're making that motion, that in this report, it needs, I think the city manager needs to make some contact with this board, even though they may be, as you say, closed.
That's fine. I'm certainly happy to.
That negotiation needs to.
That the city manager can try and contact the homeowners association. Maybe he's more charming and personable than I am, and maybe they'll make more progress there. And he could certainly report as to what the opinion of the homeowners association is as far as taking any share of the responsibility, yeah, and I certainly have no problem with this body having as much information as possible to go forward on what is basically an ugly issue, to try and get some resolution to make sure that these neighborhoods have the lighting they need to be as safe as everyone else in the city.
Well, I'll second that. It doesn't, I think the 100% or taking that into consideration, you probably need to bend on that a little bit, negotiate.
Take that out. Take out 100%. Let him negotiate.
Well, I'm saying, why don't we look at, we can certainly
just take
put
it
a
out and
scale.
let him negotiate.
Just ask for the report.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, we can have.
If you do that,
various
I can support it.
Okay.
Okay.
So the city manager will prepare a report on what the expenses are for to, replace these lights, negotiate with them, try and negotiate to work out some type of sharing, and we'll come back here and find out where we're at.
That's a change of the motion, so we need a second too. And clerk, do you have it all?
And is there a time frame?
How long would you need to prepare a report that you'd be comfortable with?
2 years would be good.
To get to the association, that's
Not any longer than the lawsuit took. I would guess probably 45 days is halfway between 30 and 60.
okay. And that'll be 1 day for the report and 44 days to bang on the door.
I'll try and make contact with, I'm not sure who they are, but I'm sure you can tell me.
Okay,
All right.
so I second that.
There's a second to that. Before we're not voting yet, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that in this entire time, I have been very, very willing, even after they sued us, to find an equitable solution to this. Even doing the 50%, and which I think is extremely equitable. They don't have to be all up at the same time. So I'm still willing, as I have from the very beginning, and it may be that, I'm really surprised there's not one person here, besides yourself, who came to speak on this item. And this has been on the public's radar since Thursday. So I don't get that part. I do believe that the only way to go forward is through a partnership, and that the homeowner association, which has apparently had several elections since this all started, they need to be responsible in some way to get to this 50%. So maybe in steps they can do that. Maybe, there was a suggestion that they pay, that the money be loaned. I really want to let the city manager come up with a way of helping, but that they ultimately be responsible for 50%. Maybe you don't do every single light. Maybe you do, every other light or something there were funds for the lights. I know there were. And Councilmember Feller suggested that there was a line item and then it disappeared. Perhaps it was so that the outside world wouldn't see that, that there are funds for the lighting, but it's become more of a sticking point. Now, because we are willing to do this, I would hope that they would be willing to come forward and speak to, it was before it was Mr. Weiss, now it's Mr. Jepson. Perhaps they would be, a different set of board members may be willing to finally come to this agreement. That's my hope, because I think that whatever it is, pride, whatever it is, needs to be set aside for the safety of the kids. This is a family neighborhood. There are a lot of kids in the neighborhood. So hopefully there will be a resolution. I have been hoping for a resolution for a long time, from the very beginning. So, but I do expect to have a meeting of the minds of the people, and then go forward from there. I don't like the notion of doing this without them.
Thank you very much for that. I want to add this one last thing because the city manager brought it up. It came up, whatever, this started 2 years ago, and you mentioned it. Some people had mentioned it to me. This is a gift of public funds for replacing 600 light poles in the neighborhood. I would like to make sure you look into that before it comes up again. And looking up into it because it does appear to be a gift of public funds that the public's paying for. So I just want you to cover that issue too before we have it again. I agree about one thing. I wish the neighborhood had been a little more receptive to our concerns and money and were willing to deal with it. And maybe they were, and it just wasn't the HOA. With that, I'm sure the city manager and staff know how to sit down and talk to them and find out what's going on. With that, I think that's all we need here. There is a motion, and let's vote on it now.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much. And with that, Mr. Clerk, are we 23?
Yes, item number 23 is adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending Oceanside City Code, Chapter 37, establishing water system capacity fees.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney.
This is the adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending Oceanside City Code, Chapter 37, establishing water system capacity fees.
Thank you.
Adoption.
Well,
Second.
No public.
Public, okay. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? It was 5-0 before, so please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, anything besides the City Council report?
Public. Public communication on off-agenda items.
Okay, please go for that.
Yes. First, Joan Brubaker may come forward.
Oh, we did.
You said there were none before when it was called.
No, I said there were 9. 9. And that's why you passed, because it was so long. No, we haven't done public communication.
There's a lot of them, and let's go. Let's go on to. I thought you said no.
I'm so sorry. I'll pronounce better next time. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
Yes, I forgot to introduce myself and give my address. Joan Brubaker, 1606 Hackamore Road, Oceanside. Good to see the mayor and the council again this evening. I haven't been here for a while. But I want to remind the Oceanside voters, this is an important time because we're near an election. And I want all the people to think carefully about their ballots when they mark them this time. In 2009, there was a very big thing happened here in the city. It was kind of the middle of the year, and lo and behold, kind of at the end of the meeting, Mr. Feller introduced a document, a new document to the city, calling it a charter. And I just really didn't know much about it. And come to find out, they'd been in the works for 90 days on this charter that no one had heard about, hadn't seen. Certainly the city attorney didn't have the courtesy of seeing it. And I thought, that's awfully strange. So anyway, it was bounced around, debated, and publicized for the months in between that period that was introduced until there was an election. In between, there was a meeting, and it was in December of 2009. It was the last evening that Mr. Chavez was on the council, making a majority of 3, the KFC crew. He voted, as well as the other 3 people, to put it on the ballot. So it went on the ballot. It was voted in June of 2010 and adopted July 8 of 2010. Charters supposedly give a lot of leeway for the city, but in reality, it takes a lot of things away from the citizens. They're allowed to make more fees, taxes, and transfer property where a general law might not permit that. Things can happen, even like Bell, California with charters, and no one wants that. I challenge that that was probably a wrong move, not having it vetted in the public and no one knowing about it. Certainly the city attorney should have been able to go over that before anyone else. I guess it was because the Building Association of San Diego had crew here to take care of the matter. Apparently they were very grateful because Kern was honored November 2011 by the Building Association of San Diego. Citizens, look over your ballot carefully and vote likewise this year. Thank you.
Next, we have Chuck McVeigh.
Evening.
My name is Chuck McVeigh. I live at 200 North El Camino Real in Oceanside. Mayor Woods, Deputy Mayor Sanchez, Council Members Kern, Fellow, Pauline, and all who hear me. I'm talking a little bit of the same as what was just preceded me. In December 2009, Council Members Kern, Fellow, and Rocky Chavez voted to put our city charter on the ballot. 6 months later, June 8, 2010, it was voted on. This charter was not written by any council member or Oceanside staff personnel. You must be wondering why. For many of you, this may come as a surprise. Kern, Fellow, and Pauline had out-of-town Bill Baber, Director of Government Affairs for the Associated Builders and Contractors, to write this deplorable charter, as usually completely ignoring the people of Oceanside. All input was from builders, contractors, and Bill Baber. Kern, Fellow, and Pauline did not want you to know this because had you known, no one would have voted for the charter. Having Bill Baber and his group write the charter is like the chicken farmer having the fox write the rules for guarding the chicken house. The charter is what permits Kern, Fellow, and Pauline to do as they please. One example, in my opinion, holding a kangaroo court in which they were the accusers, grand jury, prosecutors, judge, jury, and executioner, but stripping the mayor, Mayor Woods, of his powers, which the voters of Oceanside gave him with their overwhelming majority votes, 54.2%. Then transferring those powers to themselves. And veterans, remember, I'm a veteran also. Kern, Fellow, and Pauline wanted to do away with mobile home rent control, which would cause us to have lost our homes, because when we needed to sell, buyers would have to have been told that their rent could be raised unlimited, which they didn't want on the ballot when we voted that. Who would buy this knowing that their rent could be raised unlimited? Do not be fooled just because they now support granting $600,000 to Veterans Associations of North County, which we cannot afford. In my opinion, this is only to get our votes. This after they just attempted to throw us under the train. What hypocrites. Remember, November the 4th, we must hold them accountable. We can, we will, because we must. Give Kern and Pauline their pink slips and inform them they are not eligible for rehire, replacing them with Chuck Glory and Dana Corso because they have proven themselves time and time again. They listen to the people, not the out-of-town self-serving
You have to wind it down. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank all of you for listening to me, and God bless America and Oceanside.
Thank you, sir.
Next we have Millie Palaferri. Okay. Next we have Wally Stevens.
I didn't see him.
Don't pass off, Steve. It's been a lot of years since I've been here, guys. Wally Stevens, 2323 Maxwell Street, Oceanside. He is a companion animal. He's a rescue dog also. Puppy mills. You've got one on Oceanside Boulevard now that was thrown out of San Diego.
Wally, I'm sorry, I have a hard time here. Can you talk a little more into the mic? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
The puppy mill on Oceanside Boulevard, I don't know what they're doing. They're charging 21 to 31% interest rate. That's usually, the city attorney should look into that. Camp Pendleton, Marine Corps should look into the fact that they're selling dogs for $2,000. They end up costing $6,000 to $7,000. The dogs are coming from puppy mills. So please consider shutting this place down. Have code enforcement, have business license, and go down and see what's happening. Please. Okay? Take care. And my partner here has been patient with you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Wally. It's been a while.
Next, we have Leslie Davies.
Good evening.
Hi. I'm once again speaking on the puppy mill store as well. As Wally talked about, they do charge 21 to 31% interest. Most of their clients are unsuspecting military. Our troops are coming in there and they think they're getting a dog for $2,000 to $4,000, and their dog is ending up costing them $5,000 to $6,000 because they don't understand that it's 21 to 31% interest. They're told by Mr. Salinas it's only $100 a month. Good credit, no credit, bad credit, we finance anyone. So these poor young military, I see them drive up all the time, and I think they drive away with some little puppy and they have no idea that it's a puppy who came from a puppy mill, and that they're actually going to end up paying 21 to 31% interest. I'm going to show the video of every week in Oceanside, the big semi-truck comes into our city and people in the city stand around and they look at this thing. Unfortunately, there isn't any sound on this, but the truck pulls in and the dogs are all barking and screaming, and it's horrific, and I'll show you the video. Too bad there isn't any sound. But you can hear all the dogs barking. So 12 of those dogs, 12 to 15 dogs are passed through that hatch, and people are standing around taking pictures of it, and it's just pretty horrific that something like this is happening in our city. And Councilman Feline and Councilman Kern, this store was unanimously voted and banned from operating in the city of San Diego. The city council does not want this store. San Diego City Council banned them from operating in the city of San Diego. And what did Mr. Salinas do? He moved to our city, Oceanside. And you two are responsible for allowing this store to be here and operate in our city. Thank you.
Next, Sheila may come forward at this time.
Good evening. I'm Sheila Queda, 5160 Avenida de la Plata, and I have some questions. And tonight, I really thought this was a great meeting, and I loved how these people came and they support the kids and give them food for the weekend, and they're homeless and all this. And so why I asked, I'm so emotional about this, is how could Kern and Feline and Feller close homeless shelters and soup kitchens in downtown Oceanside when it's apparent we really need them? We need them. I mean, this, I don't understand how we can have people in office do something like this. Feline is the vice president, or he's the treasurer of the Republican Party for San Diego County, and the Republicans want to get rid of food stamps. They want to take, and you know that how many vets depend on the food stamps? We need to keep people in office that support food stamps. We need to have people in office that work for the people of Oceanside and not for big business, who care about their fellow man, who want to help these children, who have a heart. Feller, he always talks about being Christian and praying and everything. You know, in the Bible, it's how you take, you are judged by how you take the least among us. The sick and the poor and the hungry and the people without shelter are the poorest among us. We need to help them. And it isn't by closing shelters. It isn't by doing that kind of thing. It's by opening up shelters. It's by having programs for kids to go to after school. It's by creating jobs, not outsourcing jobs like the water bills to someplace else. It's by keeping jobs. It's true, the people of Oceanside say that between Kernfeller and Feline, there's not a good job they don't want to outsource. So, it's time to get rid of them. It's time to change people are not happy with what is happening. And people vote and get rid of Kern and Feline. They're not working for you. They're working for themselves in big business.
Next we have Linda Wright.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Wood and the council.
I
Thank you so very much.
I have a hard time hearing you. Just have to speak up a little, okay?
Good evening.
I heard you.
Thank you so very much for allowing me to come. I need to put this through.
No, the other way.
Thank you. Oh, that was right. Anyway, my name is Linda Lewis Wright. Last name is Lewis Wright. And I'm a community member of Rancho San Luis Rey. I've been in Oceanside it's been almost a year that I bought my home here. What I'm going to read to you right now is the message that Suzanne Ray from my community wanted to present, but she was called away and she's out of town. So I agreed to do that for her. And if there is some time left, I do have my own personal comments. This is what Suzanne had to say. When the council met, all 5 of you voted to take $600,000 from our city funds to match a grant to be used for the services of our North County Veterans Resource Center on Mission Avenue. And you, Mr. Kern, as a member of the council majority, positioned yourself to be one getting your picture taken with all the officials from that center. I think that was one of the slickest pieces of political co-opting I've ever seen. I just bet you're planning to use that picture on one of your 4-colored, oversized postcards, mailers, in your bid for re-election this coming November, with a big banner across it saying, "I support vets," or something like that. But I don't think you'd better try that one. There are too many veterans and too many veterans' widows who know how much of the city's money you and your council majority spent to put your vacancy decontrol on the ballot. Because you would not accept a referendum by the voters, the citizens of Oceanside, you were committed to pay back those big money out-of-town special interest contributors who got you on this council in the first place, and who seem to be your most rewarded constituents. Too many people now know how much money they have given you and how many favors you have done for them. Too many people in the city would know that a mailer like that would show you for the self-serving hypocrite you are. Perhaps I should remind you of what Abe Lincoln said. You can fool some of the people all of the time. You can fool some of the people. You can even fool all the people some of the time. But you cannot fool all the people all the time. And those comments were Suzanne Ray's, and she apologizes for not being able to do that herself. My comments are this: being a resident of Oceanside, oops, I guess I don't have time. Anyway, I'll be back to give my comments.
Thank you.
Next we have Victor Roy.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I just wanted to point it to, I'm seeing this Dump Kern and Feline bumper sticker all over town now. And why is that? Evidently, we have These two guys on this council, and they're pissing a lot of people off in neighborhoods, city workers, angering a lot of different people with the attacks on the proposals of outsourcing police and fire, but even the library, proposing to put in a 8,000-seat soccer stadium at Goat Hill, all these different neighborhoods. Well, I want to remind the voters, we have 3 months right now before the November 4th elections. And it was Kern and Feline who cut library hours, closed pools, park programs, and thus created the need to restore them. Now they're coming back. I see the publicity in the newspapers. They're claiming they're doing all these things for the city, like white knights riding in to rescue us after they created the crisis in the first place. So please remember that. Kern and Feline laid off and outsourced many Oceanside jobs, proposed outsourcing of our police, fire, paramedics, ambulance to private companies. Do we really want our public safety to be the county sheriffs? Kern and Feline promised hotel development projects would bring jobs to Oceanside, but developers gave those jobs to workers from Arizona who returned that income to their home state, not Oceanside's economy. Managing the operating budget, Kern and Feline managed it by eliminating and reducing fees for builders, developers, eliminating notices of what's going to be built in your neighborhood, and by laying off city employees, spending hundreds of thousands of your tax dollars, on hiring outside consultants instead of city staff, and outsourcing Oceanside jobs like the harbor jobs. Kern and Feline spent over $850,000, close to $1 million now, on outside consultants for the Melrose Extension project after it had already been rejected by City Planning Department. Pensions have already been renegotiated. What about the pension deals Kern and Feline gave to the former city managers, Peter Weiss, now rehired, as you guessed it, a consultant, and Steve Jepson, who gets a golden parachute? These are all sweetheart deals by Kern and Feline. It's time for a change, and don't let this council stay the same.
Next, we have Linda Walshaw.
Sorry. Good evening, Council, Mayor. Linda Walshaw, 151 Robbie Lane. I'm the Vice President of Action, which is the Alliance of Citizens to Improve Oceanside Neighborhoods. I came across an article that's dated November 3rd of 2012, and it's relevant again to the coming election. The title of the article is Oceanside Vote Could Bring Big Changes, and the subtitle is City Policy Could Shift on Road Projects, Outsourcing Services, and Neighborhoods. Quote, depending on whom they elect, Oceanside voters may well set the stage for a significant shift in city policy and determine what happens on a wide range of controversial city issues, from road projects to outsourcing of city services. According to the article, in 2012, the city had 83,260 registered voters. The article further states that Mayor Wood complained at candidate forums that he had been in the voting minority on the 5-member council for most of the time he's been mayor. Despite his 2-to-1 re-election, this council majority stripped the mayor of his powers of office and transferred those powers to themselves. The choice of who gets mayoral powers should be decided by Oceanside voters. Issues in 2012 included hiring private companies to take over some city services, a defeat of the June ballot measure which would have phased out rent control in the city's 17 mobile home parks. It also included a plan for the Melrose extension and for a freeway interchange at Rancho Del Oro Road. Mayor Wood urged voters to pay close attention to the issues. Look and see how people have voted. Look where the money comes from, Wood said. I've done well for the city over these years and continue to represent the people, not outside interests. The article continues. Kern was the architect of the measure to phase out rent control, and Councilmember Gary Feline supported it. Voters rejected that, but Kern predicted that the push to end rent control will return. Kern also has been a strong advocate of outsourcing as a possible way to cut spending. Candidates stated, "We need to move forward," yet the same issues remain. One candidate stated, "Nobody wants to invest in Oceanside as long as the city council is divided among two warring factions." Candidates said they wanted to bring harmony to the council, that power is too centralized. Instead, public commissions were eliminated. The council did not change, and still we face the same issues and divided factions. This council majority still serves special interests and is not listening to its citizens. It is time this November to change this council, elect new leadership, and work together with Oceanside residents for positive change. Thank you.
Next, we have Francis Kozierski.
Good evening, Mayor Wood and members of the City Council. I just want to address briefly the water crisis in the state of California. A while back, I had spoke to the City Council about a water shortage, and I don't know if you knew the expression by Mark Twain. He said that whiskey is for drinking, but water is for fighting over. And the reason why I brought that up to the City Council about water shortage was I had seen a documentary at the time on PBS, I forget the name of it, but nevertheless, they showed the water levels at the Hoover Dam in Las Vegas were at all-time low. They also explained the city of Solana Beach, for example, in the early days of the American Indians, there wasn't much water in Solana Beach, so the American Indians wouldn't settle in Solana Beach because there was not a lot of water until that situation was resolved. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, I really feel this is a good fact sheet. I can put it, he can put it up so the city will know. I think this is an excellent fact sheet on water conservation. However, had I not come to the City Council meeting tonight and got that fact sheet, I would not have known about it, okay? First of all, I'm not on the internet, okay? I tried to get a thing set up last summer, and it didn't work out to our satisfaction with the internet provider, so I'm not on the internet. So I get my mail through residential mail, through U.S. Post Service, or through telephone calls, okay? And my residence is a matter of public record, so I have not received this in the mail. And I understand you've outsourced the water administration for the billing, and I don't know who's in charge of that, but this is something that has to be publicized to the whole city. Number two, it says here, and I don't like this word because my mother talked about this too, okay? We don't like this word when it comes to city government, okay, state government, or even federal government, okay? We don't like the word mandatory, okay? And it says this is mandatory, okay? If it's mandatory, you have to explain why it's mandatory, not just, you know, we're the government, we're the city government, or whatever municipal government, this is mandatory. You have to explain why. And I don't think you're doing a good enough job of explaining, because we never got this in the mail, okay? And number two, I heard on the news sources, okay, up in Los Angeles, city of Los Angeles, they have what they call water police, okay, where they're given fines, okay? Now, there are gross, what do you call it? I use the word gross, okay, wrong word. There are people that just leave the water running, okay, out of a water hose, for example, okay? I've tried to do everything I could in the city of Oceanside, okay? When I water the plants, I typically water them about 3 times per week, okay? Give them a little water early morning or in the evening hours, and I use a little, a spigot, you know?
Wind it down, please, because of the
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm
time's
sorry.
up.
Okay, so everybody can do their part in reducing the supply of water. We even had people come in and talk about it. Okay, I mean, experts from the city sent somebody over to show us how we could use less water, okay, for the plants and stuff. So this is something that we need to disseminate, okay? That's it.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we have Pam Chambers.
Good evening.
Honorable Mayor, City Council,
Oh, pull that mic down, it's too high for you.
1922 South Freeman Street in Oceanside.
and I don't have a prepared speech, but I can tell you what happened today to me. I belong to a group of about 30 women, Carlsbad Oceanside gals. We celebrate our birthdays by going out to lunch. For the last 3 or 4 times, and in the future, we've decided to go to Oceanside. Why? Oceanside is great. It's getting better and better. Every time we go out, we make a point of talking to the managers, to the owners. How come things are so great? How come you've opened your restaurant? What's going on here? We have a city council majority in Feller, Fleet, and Kern who we can trust. They've stabilized the government. It's business friendly. We know what to expect from them, and that's what we're hearing. So I would say thank you to all of you. Oceanside's looking great. And the 3 of you in particular, you've gotten the finances in order, and that's what's happening to the city. Not a lot of old stuff to be dug up, you know, all this hate stuff. Let's be positive about Oceanside, and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
No further public on this item.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll go to the city council reports.
Yes, Mayor Wood.
I only really have one thing, other than please enjoy and be safe for this summer. That's one of my highlights. The kids must be upset. Summer got by so fast. Seems like if they just get out there, they have to go back to school. The other one, I'm going to do it right now, with the closing and basically in memory and honor of a couple of people in Oceanside. I'd like to close this evening's meeting in honor of 2 neighborhood service employees who passed on, Contra Hernandez Green and Sharon Engelman. Sharon passed away on Saturday morning. She retired last November after being a Section 8 housing specialist for many years. Contra was a community activist and community resource assistant at Chavez Rose Center on the east side. These are 2 people that were highly involved in the city of Oceanside. I'll close in memory of them. If anybody else has statements, that's fine. Then, after all the council reports, we're going to address the issue, which is the adjournment to another time and date. Other than that, that's all I have. Be safe.
Deputy Mayor Sanchez.
Thank you. And there were so many things that were happening this past month, and it's been just wonderful to see so much activity in Oceanside. I do want to give a special kudos to Main Street and all of the volunteers for Freedom Days Parade that we had. It was wonderful. I heard nothing but, you know, just kudos the entire time. Also, our fireworks on July 3rd. A big shout out to our city staff and our police, our fire, all our public safety, and the community of Oceanside that came out for this. I think that the crowd must have been at least double. To Dave Palmatier, who's the chair of OPARC, for his quick change in the program. We had hoped to have Oceanside and El Camino high school bands play as they did last year, but unfortunately there was some kind of mix-up, and we'll probably hear from them next year. But Dave Palmatier was able to get another band, and pretty good band, Mel Vernon, Mel and Friends. They did a fantastic job. So, again, kudos, thank you very, very much. It was a great, and the fireworks display was absolutely wonderful. I want to also say last night was the National Night Out. Again, thank you so much to the Oceanside Police Department for all the officers coming out. We had National Night Out at 3 of our 3 places in Oceanside. We had it at Crown Heights and Valderrama Park, which is my neighborhood, and also at Libby Lake. And just thank you to all the parents, all the kids, our community leaders, for making this really happen all over our city. And we had our 40th high school reunion this past weekend, and we had over 200 people. I think, end up showing up for all our festivities. I want to give a very, very big thank you to the Oceanside Broiler, where we had our icebreaker on Friday. We invaded the Oceanside Broiler, and they really it was just great, great treatment. We had fantastic time. Had people from all over the country show up, and it was, as I said, really great. So thank you to the Oceanside Broiler. On Saturday, we had our big dinner dance at the El Camino Country Club. Everything was just wonderful. The food was wonderful, the service. Great big thank you to El Camino Country Club. And on Sunday, we had originally had our picnic scheduled for the Heritage Park. Unfortunately, we, thought about it and said, well, what can we do to make sure that that doesn't get rained out? So it went into the El Corazon Senior Center. And just thank you to the Oceanside staff. I have to say that it was such a wonderful, wonderful event there too. Lots of people saying, because a lot of folks had not even been back to Oceanside since 1974, and there's just a lot of really great statements about Oceanside. It was really, really wonderful. And I want to say to these folks who are still here, thank you very much for staying so long, for what you do for our city, for our kids. I grew up on stories, I'm getting touched here. I grew up on stories that my mom used to tell me when she grew up. She was born in Mexico, the interior of Mexico, but ended up growing up on the streets of Tijuana, many times homeless. And she would, whenever we'd go to Tijuana to visit my grandmother, it was like, when we were kids, it was every other weekend. She would point down to the shanty town down at the riverbed and say, that's how I lived growing up, and I only got a chance to go to school for 1 year. And she worked really, really hard to make sure that her kids, and that's me and my two brothers, didn't have to suffer that. She worked the swing shift at a rubber factory for over 25 years, from 4 p.m. to midnight, and I would see her come through the door, pretend that I was asleep, and see her covered in black. And for me, that was my character building, is that, and I knew, and I was so thankful every single day that I had a place, a shelter over my head, that I had parents that were working hard to make sure that I had food and that I had a chance to go to school, and that when my second grade teacher said to my dad, you need to save money because she's going to go to college, that I had that opportunity. And I know our kids here in Oceanside so appreciate what you're doing. And I just want to thank you again for who you are and what you do every day. You are angels. I wanted to say this. You are angels for us, and I just thank you so, so much. And lastly, for Concha Green, this is a person, as you know, I grew up in East Side, and Concha and some of our other leaders did so much. I mean, my dad as well did so much to make sure that the kids had a place to play at Valderrama Park. It was always a community spirit. Looking at the pictures growing up, the streets were dirt streets. They worked really hard to make sure that there was lighting, that the streets got paved. They did this at a time when money was pretty tight, but the community always pulled together. And what Concha did in coming back home to Oceanside and then seeing what was happening, and then having her own son shot during some kind of gang violence, for her to take and say, we have to take back our park, we have to take back our community, we have to make this place safe for our kids, and her starting those steps for peace and never really giving up. This woman did a lot for the kids in East Side, really for all our kids. And so she did work for the city of Oceanside as at the Resource Center at Chavez Resource Center. Eventually, she was honored as one of our Martin Luther King Jr. leaders. Her picture hangs proudly at our community rooms if you'd like to go and see that. You know, she never stopped fighting, and the only thing that finally beat her was cancer. I know she was ready to go at the Mass. Unfortunately, we were not able to share our stories. We all have our stories. Thank you, Councilmember Feller, for attending her services. I know that she really wants us to continue to make sure that our kids are safe. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Foley.
Well, since it's been a month since we've met as a body, there's been a lot of activity going on. As was mentioned, it was great to participate in the Freedom Days parade again, and great to have fireworks back in the city. Part of the turnaround that I think our council majority can take some credit for, that we're able to provide some of the things that members of the community expect. It's always an honor to go to the fire department and attend the badge pinning ceremonies that they have for the new employees who've made it through the training in our academy and becoming firefighters for Oceanside. Always honored as well to go to business openings. On Wednesday the 16th, we had 2 more businesses open in Oceanside, Golden Care and Rita's of Oceanside. Also the same day, Chamber of Commerce had their awards recognition lunch for small businesses and their contributions to our community. And as well, the police department had a badge pinning ceremony at police headquarters. And once again, always honored to go and represent the citizens of Oceanside and say thank you to our public safety workers. Oceanside Chamber of Commerce had a sunset mixer at Ocean Hills Country Club that I was happy to attend. And on Friday the 18th, we had a concert in the park. And also as well, it's always honored to be a city councilman from a military town and say thank you to our men in uniform. And I was happy to go with my wife to the 68th annual Flag General and Senior Officers Ball that the Regional Chamber of Commerce for San Diego sponsors. And I want to thank our staff here at the City of Oceanside. On July 20th, we had the first Oceanside Day at the Padres. I believe I heard the figure correctly. I'm open to correction that we had 350 people buy tickets and go down there. We rode on the train, and it was a spectacular game. Everything you want that's like a storybook ending. We were at the bottom of the 9th. The winning run was on 3rd. There were 2 outs and a full count, and the Padre at bat hit the ball, got the run in, and we won 2-1. So the game doesn't get any better than that. On July 22nd, had 2 more businesses visits. One was Sparsha Pharma. That's been there a couple times. This is a wonderful pharmaceutical factory, part of the biotech kind of hub we're developing here in Oceanside. And then also Stratford at the harbor, a new restaurant opened up there. So it's great, once again, new business opening. Also as well, it's always an honor to participate in events that recognize the risks our law enforcement officers take, and I was proud to be at the 22nd annual Scottish Rite Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. And unfortunately, Oceanside, we did not win this year, but every officer from every city and department truly was worthy of their honor. And I'd have to say the only reason Oceanside could have missed out is that Frank filled out the form wrong. So we'll try and do it again next year. But I actually have to ask the mayor a personal question. I'm sorry, I forgot. I did not bring my note down. Do you recall the name of the officer who our nominee was? One of our detectives there. And you were there. Well, I'm sorry to put you on the spot there.
No, off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Okay, yeah. Sorry to not remember to bring down the name, because certainly I'd like to honor her achievement and the great work she did for our department. On Thursday, on the 24th, we had a group of Webelos come down, visit my office for their citizenship requirement, and also as well, the mayor happened to be in his office, and the mayor was more popular because he had better badges and pins and things in his office there, so I'm going to have to stock up and make my office more entertaining, but it's always great to have the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts come down to City Hall. Let's see here. Also, I was honored to attend the change of command ceremony on August 1st at Camp Pendleton, once again thanking our military, and had a great opportunity to go to the KOCT open house and see what they do for us and the behind-the-scenes look. And always great to attend the Samoan cultural celebration and see the wonderful Polynesian dancing and exhibits that they have there. And the last, actually second to last, I want to congratulate all the winners at the Oceanside Charitable Foundation, those who won the grants, and thank everyone who's involved with the Oceanside Charitable Foundation, the work they do for our community to make Oceanside a better place. And last but not least was an event that Councilwoman Sanchez was at as well, which was the Libby Lake Resource Center Virtual Empowerment Center. And I want to point this out because it was a very creative idea. We'll see where it goes. It's an experiment. But the idea is that every location in San Diego County can't staff professional help and professional counting, but by having the ability to hook up through computers and talk face to face, you can have basically access to expertise anywhere in the county. And so it was, basically had a demonstration of the possibilities of this. We'll see how it works. It's great that Oceanside, I believe, is one of the first sites that was implementing this, and first one in the nation. I stand corrected. So it's great to see Oceanside take the lead in this kind of creativity and experimentation to try and help people in the community who truly need this help. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Feller.
Thank you. I found out 2 days ago that you all need to work on your wave in the parade. Promise told me that I had a very good wave, and you all need to work on yours. So I used all my fingers. Yeah. It was a busy month, even though we were not busy. Things to come is what I want to focus on. We're welcoming the new CEO tomorrow night at the Art Museum, and Pat Bates earlier. I'm sure Jerry will talk about that. But next week is the groundbreaking of Mission Cove, and I think that's going to be a feather in our hat as far as providing for the needy. The Bible does say you're supposed to take care of the needy. The government is not you. The government does what it can. I do take care of the needy. I'm not so I don't need to be criticized by you regarding that. We do everything we can with all the resources that we have at our disposal to help those in need. Francis, that literature is going out to all the residents. So don't worry. This is the first time we saw it today too. So, and last thing I'd like to say is I'm glad Esther thinks things are so wonderful here, because her supporters don't think anything's good here. So I'm glad to see you like what's going on and hearing what's going on, and congratulations on all your weight loss. So.
Councilmember Kern.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add a name at the end of this.
Please go ahead.
Dolly Daly. John Daly's mother passed away. She was 89 years old. I think she was an Oceanside native. She's been here I know John is. And so it was just very sudden. So hopefully we can mention her at the end too. On a better note, things are really good here. I mean, even though Councilmember Feller has a hard time saying art, he was at the Art Walk on Friday night because he is our liaison to the Art Commission. Yeah. There must have been 3,000 people here or more downtown on Friday night for the Art Walk. Things are happening in Oceanside. It's just amazing. You know, that would not have happened a few years ago with Daniel Foster coming to the museum and the Artist Alliance. They had the museum open. They had the one of their most popular exhibits, which is the quilt exhibit, was open. So it was crowded over there. It was crowded all up and down Artist Alley, over at Main Street, the theaters down here, the library. They had music out here in the plaza. Like I said, there was probably 3,000 people here. In fact, I lost my wife someplace in the crowd, and I just sat there hoping that she would come by. I never did see her. I finally had to call her on her cell phone, and I found out she was just across the street, but I couldn't see her because of all the people. So that was really, really nice. I mean, the idea, and that was the first one. So I think it's the first Friday of every month we're going to have the Art Walk downtown, and I hope people will keep it going. Because it is just a great event. People showcase Oceanside. We have visitors from out of town. We had people that live in the eastern part of town that's never been downtown for the last few years, and they're coming downtown because of what's happening down here. We had a new restaurant open, Masters, right down the street, which is a tremendous place. It's really nice. They put a ton of money into that. And then we have Bagby Brewery. I think their soft openings in the next 3 weeks. They put a ton of money into that too, and it's going to be another great place. So there's a lot of good things happening here, and businesses coming to town. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, the Oceanside Museum of Art Gala, which is well attended, raised money for the museum, so that is really working out very, very well for here. So downtown is becoming a destination. Leslie Gall from the Welcome Center, the Visit Oceanside, just our room rates are high. Our people are coming. The idea that we are doing a great job of marketing the city, and there's something for people to do. If you haven't noticed it, Mission Avenue is almost done, and it looks really, really nice. I was down there the other day at Main Street, and the idea of that street opening up and that whole venue just opens up. We have wide sidewalks for restaurants. The new Dairy Queen's going to open here in about 6 weeks at the corner of Ditmar and Mission. If you walk by there now, you can hear the jackhammers where they're redoing the inside at the old SDG&E building, Ditmar and Mission, across from Larry Hatter's place. Dairy Queen. It was going to be the Italian restaurant, but they're going to open up. It's going to be really nice. I did attend the change of command. Major General Ed Manta is the new Commanding General, Marine Corps Installations West. We welcome him aboard. The last concert in the park is this Sunday. So get out to Heritage Park and see the last concert of the summer. It's been going on for 6 weeks, and other than the glitch last week because of weather, it's been really well attended at the park. I've gone to a couple of them. I know other council members have gone at different times. The other things, just what the council did, the only thing I really want to talk about is Sparsha Pharma that Councilmember Feline and I visited. It was very fortuitous. We got there the day that they got their approval from the DEA to start producing their tests. What they do is they have dermal patches, and they do, I think it's fentanyl is the drug. It's a pain patch, but they're doing their test patches, which is an inert, not drugs, but it's to test how the patch works and to test their equipment. So that's one of the things we talk about, attracting international business. This is a company that started in India. Their major investor are Japanese. They're in Oceanside and they're manufacturing in Oceanside. So things are happening, and we're attracting a lot more businesses here, which is very difficult in the state of California. But we're doing the best we can every day to make that happen. And other than my continuing work on the decommissioning of San Onofre and on the Water Authority, that's about it. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, before I get into my closing and where we're going to appear at, Deputy Mayor has a date issue on that one would you like to address that, please?
Yes, the adjournment is to workshop next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. It's on the same day that the Coastal Commission will be hearing the I-5 project as well as the Public Works Plan. And it would probably be about that same time. So I'm asking that we move the workshop to a different day, and if we could give direction to the city manager to come up with the day and give plenty of
I don't mind
notice.
myself, and I don't know if there's a particular date that's good for you or anybody else, but I don't mind moving it because I want everybody here for that. But any suggestions or?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I might, we have a workshop scheduled for the 27th. Do you know what time that is? It the same time, 2 o'clock?
I'm not sure. 2 o'clock.
Usually they are. That I'd suggest that we look at moving the workshop on the 13th to the 27th, and then finding a new date for the workshop on the 27th.
Well, I don't want to adjourn to nothing, but let's leave it open, and you'll get us back and get back to the public on it, okay?
We could adjourn to the meeting on the 20th.
What day? 20th, okay. First off, I'll say we'll adjourn to the meeting on the 20th. Probably be a 1 or 2 item workshop, but we're going to have a moment of silence for 3 people. Unless I forgot something, we cover everything?
Covered everything.
That's good, I appreciate that. I got none, and it was 9, huh?
Meeting's on the 20th, the workshop will be on.
With that, if I may, in memory of some wonderful people in town, Contra Hernandez Green, you said Mrs. Daly, John Daly's mother, and Sharon Engelman, city employee for a long time. If we could, for a moment of silence, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful time. Be safe out there this summer. Good night.